she'll be out there. I know. I'm a little bit bummed that I wasn't on top of that, but yeah, it looks like it'll be a great time out there. But then Sue will be out there, and then Alex Rich, who is one of our weekly guests, he'll be out there as well.
Okay, that'll be fantastic. And coming up a little bit later in the show, we'll speak with Dan Reardon, the other Reardon, Dan Reardon, no relation, the KMOX golf correspondent, who's going to give us some updates from what's going on at Belle Reeve. So very exciting weekend. It's going to be. It looks like it's going to be beautiful weather. A little warm, but not too bad. Nice, very nice. Nice time to get out. All right, among the things we're going to discuss today on the Mark Reardon Show, we're going to talk about Lindsay Clancy because the trial continues. This is a woman accused of killing her 3 children. I'm shocked at all the women out there supporting her, wearing pink with their children and everything. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up with Brad Young here in a little bit. But, you go both ways on it. On the one hand, you think, oh my gosh, I guess she had a tough time mentally. On the other hand, you don't get to kill people. You just don't get to kill people because you're having a bad day. So we'll talk about that. And I'm not a legal expert on this, but we'll talk about it coming up a little bit later. We're also going to talk about the debt. Very important to remember that we've only been out of debt one time in our entire history as a nation. I hope you knew that. Maybe you didn't. Andrew Jackson paid off our debt. After that, we were in debt. That was it. Ever since then, we've been in debt. It's gotten to the point where it's $40 trillion now. How's that going to affect you? We'll talk with the National Taxpayers Union because they want Congress to act immediately, but I'm dying to know what they want Congress to do. I'm not really sure what they can do. We'll find out coming up a little bit later. We'll also talk with Paul Hall for the Common Guys film reviews. Looking forward to that. I guess Toy Story 5 comes out this week. My husband and I were talking about
Toy Story 5?
Yeah, isn't it coming out this week?
No. That came out.
Did I miss it?
Probably a month, 6 weeks ago.
Am I that behind? Because I looked this up this morning and I said, let's look up what movies are coming out this week because I don't go to the movie theaters. Can't tell you the last time I went. I'm serious. This is what a dork I am. I thought it was coming out this week.
It did really well. The numbers on it were very strong. It was kind of a part of that 3-headed monster there in a row where that came out, and then the Odyssey came out, and then the new Spider-Man came out, and they all did really well.
I wonder what it takes people to get out and see a movie. I guess my attitude about movies is I can wait and see it online in my own house without someone being rude on their cell phone or something else. Am I just a fuddy-duddy about that now?
I think that movie theaters are much less popular than they used to be. I think COVID really hit them hard, and since then it hasn't quite been the same. But there have been a handful of movie experiences, I would say, that have kind of been able to revive it, keep it alive. Going back to like Top Gun Maverick, and then Oppenheimer, and then the Odyssey is absolutely blown up. So is Spider-Man as well. I haven't gone to a movie theater in several years, and then I went twice in the same week to see both the Odyssey and Spider-Man, and both were awesome movie theater experiences. So I wouldn't be able to speak to the state of movie theaters right now, but I can say that they've had a pretty good summer.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, I want them to succeed like I want any business to succeed. I think the last movie I saw in a theater, I'm not lying, is Top Gun Maverick. And what year was that? 5 years ago?
Oh, man, that probably would have been 2021. Yeah, if I had to guess, 22 maybe.
Yikes. Well, yeah, I need to get out more. Yeah. Well, I guess if you have little kids too, you want to see things fairly soon. And we'll talk about all that coming up a little bit later in the show. I do want to start with this today because this is a win for the people who were fired when they shouldn't have been by former Sheriff Alfred Montgomery. Apparently, the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, as we lovingly call it, has announced an agreement with the St. Louis Sheriff's Office to resolve 13 charges of race and age discrimination with the EEOC and the U.S. Department of Justice. This is a big deal. And apparently, before he took office in December 2024, first thing he said was he couldn't wait to get rid of the top-heavy employees. And the EEOC said this showed his bias against older workers. So that's the conclusion they came to. Everyone he fired was white except for one black person who complained, "Why are you firing all the white people?" Whoop, you're fired too. So that's what the EEOC found. I wasn't there. EEOC also said he targeted white employers for termination. As I mentioned, fired a black employee after that employee spoke out about what he saw happening to his long-term colleagues. And good for him. Good for that employee who spoke out and went, hey, this is wrong. All kind of wrong to fire all these white people mainly because they're white. Is that the reason? So, of course, the sheriff's office denies the allegations. I don't admit doing anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. But this, I'm glad to see this. They've announced an agreement to resolve 13 charges here. I mean, you just can't. There are things you just can't do. And people can complain about the government and the agencies and this and that. And I understand that. I've got a friend right now who's got an EEOC complaint because somebody on a meeting said, what did she say? Something about you don't fit our culture, but it was something a little more direct than that. And it was all about basically her age is what they were talking about. And she's probably 20 years older than the person who's now was then put in front of her as a supervisor. So now she's got a complaint. And I don't know how valid it is. It seems pretty valid to me based on what she's told me, the way they're trying to treat her. But I get it that you want to clean house once in a while, but you can't just get rid of people who are qualified just because they're older or just because they make more money. I mean, companies do this all the time, I realize. But you've got to have a better reason. So you can complain about the government and complain about these things. And we had a case I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas, and we had a case in Las Vegas a couple of months back where a guy had complained about his coworker, and they were having a real problem, this guy and his coworker. I mean, a real problem. I don't know what started the problem. Not sure about that. Numerous emails to HR. You got to get me off the shift, blah, blah, blah. Well, the one guy killed the other guy, killed him at work, pulled out a gun and shot him. And there were numerous emails back and forth. There's a trail of all the stuff that went on. Who knows who started it? Who knows who ultimately was at fault? We've all been in a situation at work with someone we don't like. Most people have. But you don't get to shoot somebody at work. But the frustrating thing about these kind of situations is, let's say there is and there will be a lawsuit involving this particular case in Vegas or anywhere. When there's a lawsuit about something that happened at work. Well, almost never do heads roll. Almost never. And even if the heads roll, guess who doesn't ever pay a settlement? The people who actually caused it. Like in this case in Vegas, who's ever going to pay this settlement? Nobody who's involved in it. Nobody who's in HR who ignored all these complaints. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to pay anything. They might just get transferred to another department or something. Rarely is anyone even fired. And the taxpayers are on the hook. And this is what drives you crazy because taxpayers are on the hook for bad behavior from people who should have known better. They sue us. We'll just let the taxpayers pay it. Crazy. And that goes on all the time, unfortunately. And that's the thing. If people actually had accountability, and I guess nobody wanted to take accountability in this situation and move these two people apart from each other, different shifts, something like that. And not everybody could just quit their job if they're not happy, because first of all, it's very difficult to get in with any government entity. For the most part, very difficult to get those jobs. There's a lot of competition. They have good benefits and whatnot. You get in there. What if you've got a family to support? You can't just walk. And by the way, why should you walk? Why on earth should you be the one who leaves if your boss is being a jerk or your employee is being a jerk, whatever the case may be? Why should you give up and walk and let them win when all you're asking is to be moved to another shift? So these kind of things happen, and it's nice to see somebody actually, the EEOC, getting involved in this, because you can't just go in and fire all the white people. Not cool. So we'll see. Of course, sheriff's office still, they're still not denying that this happened. Well, if there's a pattern, every single person you're firing is white and older, every single one of them, except the black person who complained, well, then, gee, I think the EEOC saw something. So that's good to know. Once in a while, there's some actual justice in the world. Doesn't happen that often, though, unfortunately. At the end of the day, all you can do is do the best you can and hope that the people who should be handling things do the best they can. And if not, there are lawsuits. There's always an avenue for you. But it's very frustrating when you lose in a situation like, especially this guy who lost his life. And then when he lost his life, there were a lot of allegations that he was the instigator and he was the problem. And, when somebody shoots their boss, everyone goes, oh, well, the boss must have been a jerk. Well, maybe not. Don't know. I didn't work with either one of these people, so I don't know the truth. I worked with a producer one time years ago, not here, obviously, but, and he was, he made my co-host at the time so mad, my co-host threatened to throw him off the balcony. and you got to understand, the co-host I had at the time was not a hothead. He didn't do that with anybody, ever. He was just, even me, I drove him crazy sometimes, and he wasn't that kind of guy. But he literally, I thought he was going to throw this guy right off the balcony. He was so mad at him. And so it can get dicey at work. And that's the worst, isn't it? When you got to go to work and do your job anyway, and you're working with somebody who's driving you nuts. It's hard enough just to have a job, and then you got to deal with this. So anyway, glad the EEOC came to that conclusion. Sounds like the right one, and we'll keep you posted on that. Coming up, Brad Young is going to be joining us. He's a chief legal analyst and a partner with Harris Young and Kaiser. And we're going to talk about Lindsay Clancy. This trial continues, and a lot of people are watching this because on the one hand, you've got people who've dealt with postpartum depression, and that is a real thing for somebody. Was she actually psychotic? Was she treated medically correctly? We don't know the answer to that. There are a lot of things we don't know at this point. And her husband always has gone off, gotten remarried. He's not going to deal with it. Can't blame him. So we'll talk about that and what he thinks is going to happen. Also, Carmelo Anthony, he's the young man who killed that athlete in Texas. Remember that? Pulled out a knife and just killed him. Went under the tent where the other people were hanging out. They didn't want him in their tent. They told him to leave, and he kills one of the kids. And he possibly looks like he's going to get a new trial. So that's nuts. Possibly get a new trial. That's what they're trying for. So we'll get to that much more coming up on the Mark Reardon Show. I'm Heidi Harrison for Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a report of debris on westbound 70 past 141. Watch for the right lane to be blocked, and it's a jam back through 270. And that's backed up southbound 270, trying to ramp on to westbound 70. Now, that seems to be the worst of it right now on the Missouri side. If you are westbound 70 out of downtown, it's fine. And once you get past the Blanchette Bridge, it opens up. 64 is lined up Hampton out through McCausland, Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through 70. Southbound 270, slow pockets from Olive through Doherty Ferry. On the Illinois side, eastbound 5570, jams at 203 due to road work. And westbound 64 is jammed right there at 157 before you head to the road closure at 255. This report brought to you by Spas and More. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Cam Jansen here. Don't miss the hot tub and swim spa blowout sale this weekend at the St. Charles Convention Center in the South Hall. Over 30 American-made units on display, immediate delivery, and financing available. For more info, call 1-800-SPA-SALE.
Hi, this is Congresswoman Ann Wagner from Missouri's 2nd District. I work every day to put more money in your pocket, secure the border, protect our shared Missouri values, and keep our communities safe. Whether it's visiting one of my public events in neighborhoods around the district or by contacting my office, I want to hear from you. If you need help with a federal agency, please contact me at wagner.house.gov.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Every child deserves a childhood. Make-A-Wish creates life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. When we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Join us today at wish.org and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Hey, Stewie, I need some cash. I need money. Who doesn't need money? What can you do for me?
You know, Annie, this is a question people ask all the time. Now, pay attention because this is important. Don't get a home equity line of credit. A home equity line of credit is a credit card in your house. It's typically not a fixed rate, so it's an adjustable. You pay interest only. And there's a short-term opportunity to take the money out, and then later on, it turns into a loan that's a really high interest rate. Cash out refinance. That's the most important thing. Refinance your entire mortgage. Get the best rate that's out there. Give yourself the opportunity to refinance later when the rates drop. A cash out refinance is a little bit higher of a rate than a rate and term refinance. Do the cash out now, set yourself up for the future, and get the best deal out there. Just do me one favor. Don't tell my wife about this because she's going to want all the cash in the world to buy a new car.
Well, if you want to know more, Google the Bagel Loan to find out more information or call my friend Stewie, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
When you're hurt in a rideshare accident, whether you're the driver or the passenger, the questions come fast. Who's responsible? What's next? At Kaufman Townsley, we understand how complicated rideshare accidents can be. We know the insurance companies and we know how to hold them accountable. We're local, we're experienced, and we'll fight until you get the justice you deserve. Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
Baron Glass and Door, simply the finest when it comes to glass, mirror, and shower doors. Why? That's easy. Our sales staff and installation team consist of decades and decades of knowledge, consistently keeping updated on all of the industry's newest and greatest ideas, which of course means you get the best advice along with the best installation. One trip to Chesterfield Valley will show you why our prices aren't the only reason to buy from us. That's Baron Glass and Door.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
I'm Heidi Harris in for Mark Reardon. Good afternoon. Looking like a great weekend for golf and all kinds of other things. Brad Young joins us, 97.1 Chief Legal Analyst. He's a partner with Harris Young and Kaiser. How are you, sir?
Heidi, it's great to talk to you again. It's been a while, and It's always a pleasure.
And you always sound so clear when you come in, just like clear as a bell. I don't know where you are, but you sound especially clear.
Well, I have to sound this good when I'm making arguments to judges.
Yeah, that's true. It's always good to be clear when you're doing that. All right, let's talk about Lindsay Clancy. Were the women still out there today with the pink on?
Yes, they were. They were still out there. And I'm not sure what they're going to achieve, but they're still there.
It's so tough for me because on the one hand, I have not had children, but I do understand people can have horrible thoughts and a lot of problems mentally after children. It does happen. You can't say it doesn't. But, you don't just get to kill your 3 kids and then wait till your husband leaves. I mean, that certainly speaks to planning. I've not been able to see much of this trial. I'm working, of course. So tell me what I'm missing.
Well, you're not missing a whole lot here, Heidi, but let me break some of it down for you. The defense rested today, so they're done. They've done their case, and it's really now centered on that one solitary question: is she criminally responsible when she killed her 3 kids back in 2023? The defense isn't even disputing that she killed her own kids. The defense says she was suffering from postpartum psychosis, worsened by sleep loss and medication problems, and an underlying psychiatric condition. But listen, as you just mentioned a second ago, I think it's a very uphill battle for Lindsay Clancy to get any relief here, because if you look at the evidence put on by Massachusetts here, it showed that Clancy planned it.
Yep.
It also showed that she created time alone with the children by sending her husband out. She actually checked, there was evidence. She checked how long those errands would take. She moved deliberately through the house. And then she tried afterwards, she tried to make the deaths look like the product of some sort of mental collapse. So literally what the evidence put forward is I think would destroy this argument in any state. But here's the one wild card. We're in deep blue, progressive, socialist Massachusetts, all right?
Yep.
And in this state, the question's going to be, does the jury drink their own Kool-Aid in Massachusetts and say, women are always right, they're always the victims, you can never question a woman, she's always the victim. If they buy that kind of malarkey, women shouldn't be trusted any more than men when it comes to defendants on trial. Justice is blind. Doesn't matter what your gender is. But I just wonder, what will the jury do given the jury pool for Massachusetts?
Should be fascinating. We're speaking with Brad Young, 97.1 Chief Legal Analyst. I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. Yeah, that's crazy. As you mentioned, all the things that she did to plan this out, and then she jumps out of a second-story window. Oh, for heaven's sake, who dies doing that?
There was a case recently here in the St. Louis area where a person claimed they tried to commit suicide, and it was a defense to a case, and they took Valium. Well, anybody that knows anything about Valium knows that you could eat a bottle of this stuff. It's going to hurt you badly, but it gets excreted by the urine, and typically you don't die from it. So yeah, this jumping out of a second-story window to me is just another element to show that she's developing evidence that she's nuts, but isn't really evidence of anything other than her planning.
Now, if Lindsay Clancy really killed her children intentionally, which obviously she killed them intentionally at that time, and it was nothing other than her killing them intentionally, what would the motive be for just getting rid of all of her kids? She was just overwhelmed. She was just tired of the burden. Has the prosecution presented any evidence to prove that she planned it and she was going to benefit in some way from this?
I haven't seen that. I know what I would have argued had I been the prosecutor. I mean, if you look at her, she's attractive. If you look at her, she's also very active in social media. And I would make the argument, had I been a prosecutor in this case, that she was doing it to unbundle herself from her children so that she could be a media star or a social media influencer full time. Now, I don't see that the prosecution made that argument, but that would have been the argument that I made.
Yeah, and then you just throw it out there, and the jury can either believe that or not believe it, right? That's the whole point,
right? But your question is very relevant here, because from the prosecution's standpoint, the jury's going to be asking that question, and if you don't provide a satisfactory answer to why she would do it, motive is always important. Anyone that's ever watched Murder, She Wrote knows the motive is important, right? So, or Law and Order, SVU, you got to get the motive down. So if they did not address it in the case, I think that gives a slight advantage to Clancy.
Boy, that could be crazy, wouldn't it? If the prosecution didn't say, not only do we not believe she's crazy, she was going to benefit from the death of all of her children by doing this and was going to benefit in this way. And they have not done that. I would have thought they would have presented that evidence. That is interesting that they have not. And I hope that's not what screws them up.
Yeah, and listen, I didn't read through all the trial transcripts, so there may have been some argument by the prosecution, but I can tell you in the news stories that I've been reading, I haven't seen any statement regarding motive. And if the prosecution did not address it, that's a big gaping hole in their case.
I think so. Now, what about her marriage? Do we know much about her marriage? Her husband, I guess, has since moved on, gotten remarried, left town. Do we know anything about the state of their marriage at this time? Of course, it's tough having 3 little kids. That puts a strain on anybody's marriage, 3 little kids that young. But beyond that, was there an issue that we didn't or needed to know about or heard about?
Well, yeah, the only thing that I know for certain is that her husband is gone. Beyond that, I didn't see anything in the reported news stories about what she's currently doing from a dating perspective.
No, but I mean, as far as their marriage, when they were married, was there a problem in their marriage that she wanted to get out of their marriage? Do we know anything about that? Was that presented at trial that we know of?
Not that I know of, no.
Yeah.
In fact, as I was reading several stories earlier today about it, I saw no documented marital problems or relationship conflicts at all. Now, I will tell you that during the murder trial, her ex-husband, Patrick, testified that their marriage was, he used the word, quote, wonderful, unquote, and that they built a loving family together. And from his testimony, which I think actually helps his ex-wife, his testimony is that there was a severe, rapidly deteriorating mental health crisis in the family focused on Lindsay Clancy, and that was the problem, not any marital discord. Now, is that true or not? Don't know. I do know the prosecution did not put up any rebuttal evidence to that, so that's what the jury's going to have to consider.
And once again, if that was true and her mental health was rapidly deteriorating, why wasn't something drastic done? Like she was never left alone with the children or something like that. We all remember who was the woman years ago, put all her kids in the bathtub, drowned them all. I mean, you keep an eye. If there's a problem with the woman, and we're not saying there wasn't, I'm not a doctor, I can't address that. But if there was really that severe a problem, you have somebody there 24 hours a day if you have to. You don't leave her alone with the kids.
That's true, and also if there was this rapidly deteriorating mental health crisis in the home, then how was it that she was able then to not only plan the murders, not only time out the murders, not only time out how long her husband would be gone, how is it that she was then able to create a cover story afterwards? I mean, all of that takes a cognitive ability to deceive. And if one is in a mental health crisis, they're not calculating in terms of how to deceive, they're acting out of that mental illness. And so all of her actions would would be testimony and evidence against both her testimony and her husband's because of the level of planning here.
That's right. And not only that, we're not even going to get into how long it takes to strangle somebody, and we're not going to talk about that. We're not even going to do that. We're not doing that. Brad Young, great talking to you again. Appreciate you joining me on the Mark Reardon Show.
My pleasure.
Thanks. I'm Heidi Harrison for Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Westbound 70 is fine out of downtown. A little slow at Lindbergh. And now we've got a jam as you head for the Blanchette Bridge. And it started with a report of just debris in the right lanes. And we still have, I believe, the right lane blocked. The camera will pull up. Yeah, it's debris, all right. And it's in the 1, 2, 3 right lanes on the bridge. It looks like from here a powder of some sort. So I can't tell what it originally was. But it's created a parking lot jam back past 270. So people are taking 370 as an alternate, and it's slower than usual. Now, 6440 is the usual. That's approaching Hampton out through McCausland, and a little bit slow at 270. Then it jams up Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through Wentzville. Eastbound 70, road work on either side of Forestel, causing a delay. Southbound 270. Moderate volume south of Page down through Doherty Ferry. On the Illinois side, 64 slowing in both directions between 157 and 159, and eastbound 5570 is slowing at 203. We look fine, though, on the bridges. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Let's just face it, right? Your home should work for you, not against you. Hi, it's Kim, and if you've been dreaming of a new kitchen, bathroom, or a finished basement, now's the time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design. They're St. Louis's trusted experts in turning houses into dream homes. Just imagine this, a spa-like bathroom, maybe a chef-inspired kitchen, or how about a cozy basement perfect for some movie nights? Their team handles everything from design to installation, so you can just sit back and enjoy the process. Visit lakesideart.com today to start your dream renovation.
If you like that comfortable setting to hang out where people know your name, check out Lit Cigar Lounge. My friends at Lit Cigar Lounge are fantastic. Brian and Dana and Andrew and Charlie and Nick and all of them down there are going to get to know you by name because it is a family-run business in the Chesterfield Valley and the district. They've got an extensive selection of bourbons and whiskeys and craft cocktails and some of the best hand-rolled cigars from around the world. Check them out at the district or go online to litstl.com.
When it comes to family law, a lot has changed in recent years, so assumptions can be costly. If you see or sense a change coming in your family life that could have legal implications, it's important to know where you stand. Getting good legal advice early is never a bad idea. I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. If you or anyone you know is facing a family law issue, start with a consultation. Visit CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
What if you saved money every time you spent money? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can. Every time you use your debit card with Achieve It Checking, the change from your purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar and automatically deposited into your savings. And Together Credit Union will help you reach your savings goals even faster by matching qualifying savings, up to $8 a month. Learn more or enroll today by visiting a Together Credit Union branch near you or online at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 3:32. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
From Collinsville to Chesterfield, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Heidi Harrison for Mark Reardon. Good afternoon. Looks like it's going to be a great weekend. That's nice. Brandon Arnold joins me. He's Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union. We're going to talk a little bit about the national debt. $40 trillion now. Oh, that's nothing to worry about. By the way, I had to look this up because I'm not an expert on these things. Last time we were out of debt as a nation, and we were once, 1835. Andrew Jackson paid off the debt with $75 million before he paid it off. So 1835, we were debt-free. Ever since then, it's been a downhill slide. How are you, Brandon? Thanks for being here.
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
So I know you guys would like to see Congress act. I would too. What would you like to see Congress do, though? It's interesting how Scott Bessent, let me mention Scott Bessent first. I'm sure you saw this. Vice President Vance said yesterday that Treasury Secretary Bessent has a very discreet plan to shrink the nation's debt. I'm dying to know what that is. Would you have any idea there?
I wish I did. He has not returned my text messages yet, but hopefully someday. I am open to any plan that exists right now to reduce our deficits, to get our debt under control. So I do look forward to seeing what the Secretary has to offer here. The problem is, trying to get Congress on board with such a plan, especially heading into a difficult election period. Everyone's afraid that cutting spending is going to be a bad look politically. I think getting our nation's finances in order should be a political winner, especially when you talk about the broad benefits that can have, not only providing some stability to our financial picture, driving down mortgage rates, lending rates, driving down the cost of living in general, and also not putting us in this, unpleasant balance where we are dependent on other countries, foreign entities, borrowing our debt in order to make our obligations. I think that's a national security risk as well. So I think there's a lot of benefits. We need a new marketing department for folks that are actually trying to balance the budget.
Well, yeah. I mean, how could we possibly? Could we? And I'm just going to ask dumb questions because I'm not an economist here. Could we do things that some people do, like try to settle our debt, bring it down a little bit? I mean, what can Congress actually do that would bring this debt down?
Yeah, and we've got to pay off our debt. We got this. First of all, the first way to address a major problem like this is to stop making it worse.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're in a position where Congress is trying to spend more. They're trying to unwind some of the good reforms that were in the One Big Beautiful Bill to squeeze out some of the waste, fraud, and abuse in federal programs, particularly in the food stamp program, which is absolutely rife with. They're trying to unwind this. They're trying to make the problem worse, and that's what the most frustrating thing is. It's tough to cut spending. I get that. It's a political challenge, but you have to do it. We send people to Washington, D.C. to go to cocktail parties and to collect campaign checks. We sent them there to do the nation's work on behalf of American taxpayers. So there's a whole list of options that we can employ. Some of them are more challenging than others, especially when you talk about popular programs, Social Security and Medicare and others. But we got to get this work done. Otherwise, we're going to be in real tough trouble as a nation.
No question. We're speaking with Brandon Arnold, Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union. I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. I looked up, because I didn't know this, the history of, which years were worse for debt and this and that. And the debt went up 3,000% in the 1860s. Okay, I'm not going to rattle off a bunch of numbers. No one likes numbers on the radio, so stay with me here. In the 1940s, it went up 498%. Now, what do we see there? War. Okay, I'm wondering, looking at these numbers, what the Iran war is going to be costing us and adding to our debt. Do we have any idea yet?
We're talking about tens of billions of dollars, and they haven't showed their hand entirely when it comes to cost. But you see some of the military requests that they're putting in, trying to get a defense budget at about $1.5 trillion, which would be far and away the largest we've ever had. Is all that money necessary? Well, part of that depends on your views on foreign policy. I won't get into that. But anytime you're looking at the defense budget, I think you need to consider how much waste is in the Pentagon. They have never passed an audit. They're the only part of the federal government that has never passed an audit. That is troubling in its own right. We all remember the stories, particularly from the Reagan era, the gold-plated toilets, the $1,000 hammers, and so forth. And I'd like to say that have all been resolved, but I don't think they have. We're still giving money hand over fist to defense contractors. Some of that is going to very much needed weapon systems and so forth, but some of that is going to systems that are basically just jobs programs. They're not really contributing to our national defense. We are not at a point where we can afford that kind of.
No, and we don't know. We don't know. By the way, they do have to replace a lot of the things they're shooting off at this point. We understand that, but that's another factor. Speaking of the 1980s, it was $908 billion during the 80s. By 1990, it was $3.2 trillion. That's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it just feels like it gets exponentially worse every year. It was just 2017 when we hit the $20 trillion threshold, and here we are doubling that. And, it'd be one thing if this was just due to the pandemic. We had a huge surge in spending, but we ratcheted up spending. It went up for the pandemic, and some of that was understandable. We were telling people they couldn't go to work. We were shutting down businesses. We had to spend more money. But we're not in a pandemic situation anymore, and we're spending like we are. That's unsustainable. If we just went to spending back to like 2020 levels, we'd still have some fiscal problems, to be sure, but they'd be much, much more manageable.
All right, so talk to me like I'm 4 years old, for those of us who are not economic experts, and explain how, is briefly, how everyday costs are affected by this debt. Because there have been people over the years, even conservatives over the years, who've said, "Oh, don't worry about the debt; it doesn't really affect you." Well, it can't possibly not affect me. Talk to me about what costs me more money every single day because of the debt.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, anyone that's in the market for a house right now, trying to mortgage a home or take out a loan, be it for a car or to start a small business, I think is facing higher cost. And that is because we are borrowing so much money. There's only so many lenders out there. And when you have more people trying to borrow money, it's just a supply and demand thing. Those lenders are going to demand a higher return on their dollars. So you see that's pushing up interest rates across the board. It's making it more difficult for average Americans to borrow money. If you're on an adjustable rate mortgage, for instance, you feel that very, very powerfully. It's an enormous concern. But I think across the board, what we're seeing is just all of the spending. It also crowding out private investment. So it's because people are choosing to invest in government instruments rather than in the private sector. It's harder for private companies to raise capital to create jobs and grow their businesses.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That makes sense. I hadn't thought about that because, government's going to keep spending. So invest your money there because you're going to get good returns on it. Meanwhile, somebody who has a company that, when everything crashes, they're going to lose their money. But meanwhile, somebody who has a company that could actually grow is not getting the investment. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's a very concerning effect, a crowd out effect. And I think it's happening right now. And it's driving up costs. It's suppressing wages. It's just making it harder for everyday Americans.
Yeah, well, it's been 191 years since we were debt-free, as you know, and it's depressing. Something's got to happen. Problem is that, spending money is good that's how people get back into office. Oh, look what I did. I brought this new center into your neighborhood, or I bought this new, whatever, and that's all costing all of us money.
That's absolutely true. It's much more politically advantageous to do those ticker tape parades where you're opening up a new business or whatever, or you get money for the local water fountain or pickleball courts or whatever kind of ridiculous spending, and people are real happy with you. They don't really throw you a parade when you cut spending.
No,
we need
they
to change
don't.
that.
Yeah, I love it when they pull up what is it, the lectern, podium, what do you want to call it, where they speak from? I guess it's a lectern, and they just magically pull that up into the middle of a freeway and go, and they all stand out and pass out donuts and make speeches and do their big ribbon cutting, and it's more money out of my pocket is the way I look at it. Just open the other lane and shut up is what I want to say to these people.
Absolutely. I hate it when they name these installations, these roads or travel centers or whatever after politicians, as if it was their money. They just went and diverted my money toward this project, and they used their power and their clout to do so. They didn't take a nickel out of their own wallet.
That's what I want. Taxpayers off ramp. How about that? That's a good name for something like that.
There you go.
Taxpayers Bridge. Brandon Arnold, National Taxpayers Union. Thanks for joining the Mark Reardon Show. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Heidi. Really appreciate
Thanks for being here. Thanks. It's sad, isn't it? I mean, people don't realize how the national debt affects you, but we're talking $40 trillion. I don't know how they can ever get this down. I have no idea. But it's hard to believe that we've been in debt for 191 years, most of our entire existence as a nation. And it just keeps growing every year. And if you look at the list of where we were at certain times, crazy. I looked at this list. I had to look this up because I didn't know all these details. In the 1980, we were 908 billion. 1990, 3.2 trillion. Trillion. That's a lot of zeros. By 2000, it was 5 trillion, almost 6. By 2008, 10 trillion. 2012, 16 trillion, and on it goes. I mean, it's not funny, guys. I'm laughing because it's one of those things where you can either laugh or cry at the amount of money this government owes, but how many people, have an interest in it? And at what point would another, what they say, what the Bible says about being a debtor? You're a slave to the lender, whether you're, a private person. I'm certain that applies to nations too. You're a slave to the lender when they've got you over a barrel, literally over a barrel. Sad. And that's the problem. These politicians, they love to go back to DC, or whether it's a, local place, they go to Jeff City or wherever they go, wherever the state that you're in. They go there and they, want to talk about all these good things they did while they were in office. And we got you a new soccer field. We got you a new baseball field. We got you this. We got you that. And you multiply that by every jurisdiction around the country. You know what happens there. And I'm not saying money doesn't need to be spent to fix roads and bridges and things like that, but is it spent the most efficiently? Probably not. And that's a part of it too. And the rest of us sit down at the kitchen table and decide, okay, I want to do this. Can we afford it? And government doesn't work that way. And we all know it. They're not accountable. And a lot of times, if they don't spend all the money they had this year, then they're not going to be able to ask for the same amount next year. So there's an incentive for them to spend. If I went to my husband, not that he controls everything I do, but in that regard. But if I went to my husband and said, well, you gave me $100 last week. I blew all of it. I need $150 next week. He would say, well, what did you spend it on? Like I would to him. What? Where did that money go? Oh, well, I need more this week because I spent it all last week. And if you bring it down to the personal level, that's really what it comes down to. But government has no incentive. Their only incentive is to get more money next year, and they have to spend all the money they had. There's no incentive to save any of it. And who knows what this Iran war is going to cost us? Who knows at the end of the day? Between all the things that we're running through, all the ammo and everything we're running through, that we do have to have on hand in case we tangle with China in 2027, which a lot of people are talking about. But they're not problem solvers, are they? They're just politicians. That's the truth.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There's an accident westbound 6440 at Prospect, and it's off on the right shoulder. And we've got some volume through there. It's a slow go. But the worst of it right now is 70. And this is westbound 70 as you approach the Blanchette Bridge. And there was debris blocking the right lanes, and it still is. Now, crews are on the scene trying to get that cleaned up. But in the meantime, only the two left lanes are open. And we have a jam that goes back past 270. And there's already a slow go past the airport, so that's going to become one here. And so people have taken 370 as an alternate. And it is jammed as well. Now, just the regular volume on westbound 6440 out of downtown, approaching Hampton, and that's out through McCausland, and then again from Lindbergh through 270, and then the westbound jam out of Prospect. But southbound 270 is only moderate volume in pockets from Olive down through Doherty Ferry. 55 slowing at Butler Hill. On the Illinois side, Route 3 jammed at both directions at Monsanto Avenue, slow-moving train. And westbound 64 just jammed, headed for 157. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Why pay full insurance when you can customize and save? Switch to Liberty Mutual and they'll customize your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Mark Cox here. Join me for breakfast Friday, September 11th from 5 to 9 a.m. at Chicken Ellie's in Eureka. We're raising funds for Focus Marines Foundation. Proceeds go straight to supporting our veterans. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Why in the world would you not get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter of St. Louis? Because we know that the grid has really been under stress here, even the last couple of weeks in the Midwest. So we're probably, and I hate to be doom and gloom, but we're probably not too far away when there's a pretty significant rolling blackout in this country based on what the weather might do. So you don't have to worry about that because you're going to get a Generac generator. It's going to sit right outside of your home. It's going to look nice. If your power goes out, it will instantaneously kick in via propane or natural gas, and then you don't have to worry about anything. You're set, you're golden, the food is not going to spoil. Stop by the showroom or call for a free estimate today, 314-499-2020, 314-499-2020, the website generatorsupercenterofstlouis.com. They have free estimates and low payment plans if you want to finance. So don't miss out on this. Don't be the person that says, I wish I would have called. Do it today. Generator, supercenterofstlouis.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day and nothing worked until Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food, crazy. Enjoying exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick Hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again, my blood pressure went down, and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis, only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings. That's right, seminars Thursday, September 17th, Radisson Hotel, Fairview Heights in Fairview Heights. Weight loss hypnosis, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis, 8 p.m. Or Saturday, September 19th, Holiday Inn St. Louis, Creve Coeur, St. Louis. Weight loss hypnosis, 11 a.m. Stop smoking hypnosis, 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Grid. We haven't even heard from Sue Thomas yet today, have we?
Sort of.
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of, sort of. How you doing?
Pardon me, I just took a drink of water. Great.
I was going to say, did I
I'm
catch
happy.
you?
Yes.
It's Friday, and you're going out to the golf tournament this weekend, right?
Yeah, my brother's coming into town. He lives in Houston, and he's a big golfer. And I had said, do you want to come for this thing?
Oh,
and he said, I don't know if I can swing it. Then, of course, it got closer, and he said, I'll be there Friday. Come pick me up. I said, okay. So we're going tomorrow, and I think it'll be really nice and warm. We've gone to one, but not too crazy hot. We've gone to one in Wisconsin before when he was at some dinner and bid on, going to Whistling Straits and watching the PGA. So we were there just when it opened, and it was really fun. I liked walking around and sit down and watch Tiger at one point. So I'll just do that, plant myself at one hole and watch Scotty Scheffler and all the people come through it. I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be great. Now, having been to one of those tournaments before, I never have. They have a lot of real strict rules on what you can carry with you and the size of hats you can wear and things like that, right?
Yeah, they do. And that's a good point. I'm going to have to look that up. But the one thing I did look up, can I bring a chair? Just the folding kind. And they said, yes, but you can't bring the container for the chair. So I guess you can't take the shoulder sling, but you can carry the chair itself. And then my neighbor told me, you can bring a container for water, but it can't have anything in it when you get there. So I got to dig in and see what's up.
Wow. Well, that's true because the last thing you want to do is show up there with it, and then you have to go back to your car with it or whatever else. You don't want to hassle with it. But yeah, they're picky, like at the Masters and things like that. They're picky about, I think, even the size of your hats and all kinds of things that you can't have on the course, or you can't leave the chair there or something. You have to bring it with you, or
you can't. Yeah, you got to take it at the end. They don't want a bunch of chairs everywhere, but. And I don't understand how it's set up, so I look forward to getting there and seeing the tents and the merch tent. And another neighbor works at Duo Dogs, which is a local organization that, trains puppies for people who need it. So they'll have a tent, and she said, oh, you can go there. So I look forward to it. It's fun to have it here.
Oh, yeah. It's a huge event. And it's going to be beautiful weather and everything. What kind of puppies does she train?
Well, they do. I think it's mostly labs. But if you need any kind of assistance, any kind of service animal, they train for kids, for adults, for whatever you need. And they just had 2 litters. She's a whelper helper.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
And they come up with all these names for it. But, yeah, it's a great local charity. And I'm not sure how they're involved out there, but I look forward to seeing that. And I'm sure they'll have at least one dog on hand.
Well, that's great. That's always a good. Cousin of mine got a dog a few years back, and she had kids, and she just didn't have the time to train a puppy, right?
Sure.
And she actually got adopted maybe purchased a lab that had flunked out of some kind of a school for whatever, right? Bomb school or whatever it was. Okay. So the dog was a lab, but you already get a great dog. And it was about a year old. So it's already been trained in the basics, but it was easier for her to do that than try to have a puppy because she was busy and the kids and this and that.
Did it work?
And it worked out great. That was, it worked out great.
Yeah.
Because there are always dogs that maybe, there are bird dogs that are born to be bird dogs who don't look for birds. And these kind of things happen. And the breeders maybe look for somewhere else to go.
Or if they're too interested in things like food. She said that's an issue. That some of them, they try to train them, but there will be somebody who flunks because that cheeseburger just looks too good. They've set up different scenarios that, and they're supposed to at some point be able to just sit and ignore. And not everyone can.
No, they can't. I just adopted a dog. I didn't plan to adopt this dog, but a friend of mine had bought a dog at a pet store last year. Little cockapoo, little teddy bear looking thing. Oh, she's adorable. And I was going to find her a home because I already have 3 dogs. And long story short, wound up keeping her because she had some behavioral issues when I got her. And I thought somebody else is going to return her. And I'm going to work through this with her. Other people might go, oh, she does this, she does that. But one of the things that's really... right, because other people would say, oh, she's so cute. Oh, she growls at my other dogs when they want to get on the couch. That's right. We have to work through that, which we did. Okay, she doesn't do that anymore. But my gosh, she was raised in a home with nice people. No one abused her, but very busy home. And they had a toddler. Well, toddlers teach dogs what? To eat off the coffee table because that's where the goldfish crackers are, right?
Yes.
And I have one of my dogs is just off the street. Someone literally dumped the dog in a cat carrier next to my house. And this one is, was living in a home. I think it's easier to have a dog who has not learned any habits at all, which was my street dog, versus this pet store dog, because I'm having to teach her that no, the coffee table is not an additional place to find food.
Does she just have small dog issues,
No, she doesn't. She just lived in a house they were very busy people who had her, worked a lot of hours and just didn't have the time to train her, but no one abused her or anything. But they had a toddler, and how toddlers are. They drop their goldfish crackers, they walk around the house. And so the dog learns to grab what they can when they can.
True.
And so she's much better than she used to dive across the other dogs to try to get something I was giving out. Now she sits patiently. It took time to teach her that because I had to not only reverse what she'd learned, I had to teach her new habits.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I got to quit talking. Yeah, I got to quit talking, Sue. Ethan just told me I got to wrap. I'm just going on and on. Okay, I'm Heidi Harris in for Mark Reardon. Sorry.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a jam on westbound 70. And this is headed for the Blanchette Bridge. We had some earlier debris there. Well, it was debris there earlier, right? That makes more sense. But they have cleared it, and they've opened all the lanes. The problem is we have a jam that goes back past Lindbergh, and it's going to take a while to unwind. And in the meantime, people took 370 as an alternate, and that is heavy and slow as well. Now, 64, it's just the usual Kings Highway out through McCausland. Little bit at 270. Eastbound, slowing at Lindbergh and Big Bend. And westbound out west, slows as you approach Prospect out through the 70 split. Now, if you're on the Illinois side, we've got a jam, and that's westbound 64 approaching 157, eastbound approaching 159, and a little bit of volume on Route 3 in both directions, just at Monsanto Avenue due to a slow-moving train. Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter. According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your health. Call now. 314-887-4333.
Hey, St. Louis, this is Brian Kilmeade. You know, I always have a great time when I visit you guys, and I'm coming back this November. So join me, Brian Kilmeade, by getting tickets for the show at The Factory at 971talk.com/events.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
Go ahead and build it. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts ruled today that the Trump administration can keep building the $400 million White House ballroom, at least for now. He signed a temporary order today to allow the work as the High Court considers the Trump administration's appeal of a lower court ruling halting the project. As President Trump prepares to unleash what he calls an economic D-Day on Iran, Tehran is vowing a devastating response.
Iran's leaders haven't detailed what those responses to sanctions would be, but the parliament chief, one of the country's top negotiators, is reportedly admitting Iran is no match for the U.S. military.
Fox's Evan Brown reporting. Meantime, Vice President J.D. Vance took the administration's economic campaign message today to his hometown of Middletown, Ohio, and spoke to a crowd at the steel plant where his grandfather once worked.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy or it's all going to happen overnight, but in just 18 months, we have seen an explosion of rebuilding in the American heartland. We have seen trillions, with a T, trillions of new dollars of investment pour into the United States of America.
Vance highlighted the Cleveland Cliffs is moving ahead with a $1 billion modernization of Middletown Works steel plant. Environmental critics have objected to the redirecting of $500 million in federal funds from a Biden-era clean energy project to the steel mill. The Pentagon fires its editor-in-chief of the Stars and Stripes and the publisher and a reporter. Editor Eric Slavin says he was dismissed for insubordination after saying that a censorship is a red line. Firings come amid the Trump administration's escalating pressure on news organizations and restrictions on Pentagon press access. The Stars and Stripes is partially funded by the Pentagon but has a long legacy of editorial independence. America's listening to Fox News.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil, one simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to metamucil.com for more details.
Ice Cube's Big 3 season has come down to this. The Big 3 Championship is coming to Charlotte. Who will be crowned the Big 3 Season 9 champion? Plus the Big 3 All-Star Game, the biggest names in the game, all on one court, one more time. 2 games of the most physical, competitive, and non-stop 3-on-3 action. The game played the way you love. Watch live Saturday on CBS at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and catch replays Monday on BET.
Yay, yay! Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
We almost have to check the calendar. Delightful weather all weekend long. Clear skies, 70s this evening, 69 for the overnight low. Maybe a spot thunderstorm towards morning, but really, really tough to find. Saturday, a spot early morning thunderstorm, tough to find. Otherwise, great day. Partly to mostly sunny, 86. Saturday night, clear and nice, 65. And Sunday, 83. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. Looking forward to a great weekend. We're going to talk a little bit more about the golf tournament coming up. Talk a little movie stuff, a little sports stuff. Talk about Fernando Mendoza playing with the Raiders. Some hits and some misses in the preseason football. We'll talk about, obviously, St. Louis sports. So lots coming up here on the Mark Reardon Show. I did not realize that the Missouri cold case playing cards they have a second edition now. So I guess they must have had a first edition at some point. Have you heard about this, Sue, where they have the cold cases on the playing cards? Have you heard about this?
No, I had no idea.
Okay, so good. I'm glad to know because it's the second edition. So I must have totally missed the first edition of this. All right. So what they're called is Missouri's cold case playing cards. They feature 52, obviously 52. Get it? 52 unsolved cases involving homicides, missing people, and unidentified human remains from across Missouri.
Is this a new thing? Because I've not heard of it. Obviously, if the first ones came out, that it's not.
I know. It's a second edition. So apparently you and I missed the first edition.
That's
that
an
came
interesting idea.
Isn't it an interesting idea?
Yeah.
I love it. And this is this project they're saying is part of a team effort with the FBI, Missouri State Highway Patrol, Missouri Department of Corrections, and police departments around Missouri. And what they basically do is they pass these out because there may be people quietly sitting in, I don't know, a jail cell or something who might see this and might remember something about that particular case.
Wow.
I think it's a great idea. So they're being distributed throughout Missouri's prison system in hopes, like I said, that they're going to be able to, they might know something or details or some kind. I think this is a great idea. They got nothing else to do in prison except sit there and look at playing cards with the unidentified things on it, right? So why not?
Why not? I've never heard of anything like that before. I wonder who came up with it. And did they base it on, did some other state do it? And was it successful? I'm just wondering these things.
I don't know the history on this. I really don't. But they have, for example, just to give you an example of some of what the cards have on them. One focuses on the Interstate 70 killer, I-70, who they say killed at least 6 people in Missouri, Kansas, and Indiana in 1992.
Wow.
While they were working alone in small retail businesses near the highway. So that would be your first clue, right? If everybody who's a victim had something in common, which in this case was working the late night shift at the Stop and Rob or whatever, right?
Right.
So that's how they go, the similar circumstances here. They were the last person working in the, seamstress shop or whatever it would be, right? So there were 6 people. This is 1992. That was one of the focuses.
I'll be darned.
I know. And the authorities are saying this is not for fun or a joke in any way. And it's, by the way, shameless plug, I'll put it out there. I'm now doing a podcast called Vegas Crime Files. And it's all first accounts about very interesting crimes in Vegas. We did everything from the October mass shooting. And we talked about the guy who showed up in the barrel. Do you remember that story where as Lake Mead has receded a year or so, they found a barrel with a guy in it. Geez. Yeah.
Okay, and I am seeing this online that they've done these cards in Washington State.
Okay.
Snohomish County Sheriff's Office cold case unit created a deck of playing cards. I'll be darned. Well, I'm sorry, I interrupted your podcast talk. How's that going? That sounds interesting.
That's the history. But one of the things that we talked about on the podcast is, this guy who was in the lake, who'd been in a barrel for probably 40 years, and they found the skeleton and talked to one of the guys who was on the cold case squad trying to figure out who this guy was. And it was so funny because the former mayor of Las Vegas, who used to be a mob attorney, for those who don't know the history, they had tracked down the clothing of this dead guy to Kmart. And the former mayor, Oscar Goodman, said, well, it wouldn't be one of my guys. They wouldn't be wearing Kmart clothes.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Anyway, no slam on Kmart, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. There are all kinds of very interesting cold cases all over the country that I'm fascinated by. And there are websites I'm not talking about gory websites, but there are websites that will talk about this person and that person was found in this and that condition, or with this or that item of clothing on them or whatever, because a lot of times what do you get? Just a skeleton.
Right.
So if they have a button or they have a certain outfit on, or some hair, they can identify me. People are fascinated. It's shocking how many people are missing or who are found and not identified.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. Okay, Florida came up with these things first in 2007, the playing cards.
Thank you. Okay.
And they say that cumulative, because I said, is it successful? And they say cumulative nationwide tracking indicates roughly 15 to 18 participating states. And they haven't tracked necessarily whether stuff was solved, but they have gotten hundreds of new tips.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think and obviously each state's going to do it the same way. Here's a woman by the name of Nancy Brannon, last seen in 1986 after leaving the Halftime Saloon in St. Louis.
Wow.
Her locked vehicle was found in the parking lot of her apartment building with her purse nearby. So that's a case that's still out there.
Wow. Okay. One in South Carolina, early rollouts led to arrests or convictions in roughly 8 to 10 homicide cases.
That is fantastic.
I love it. Wow, who would have thought of that? It's just a really good idea.
I think it's a very good idea because, once again, people who may not a lot of times people don't realize what they know.
Right.
And they go, oh, yeah, I remember that used to be so-and-so's girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. And I thought they solved that. Oh, I didn't realize, right? And they knew the person at the time. And, when I talked about the guy in the barrel in this podcast, once again, Vegas Crime Files, shameless plug. It's on the Odyssey app or anywhere you get podcasts. I talked to one guy, the cold case detective was one of them, talked to another guy who grew up with a guy they think might be the guy in the barrel because he was real shady, a shady character in Vegas at the time. And the last thing he told his family was, hey, I'm going out to show a guy my boat at Lake Mead. And he was, that was the last time they saw him. Huh. So you don't know, but Vegas was quite the Wild West back then. So, yeah. But every town, every state has this. Every city has these crazy cases like this. And I think it's a great idea that they're doing this. I really do.
And they say, you know what? It's a relatively inexpensive way, kind of a low risk way to tap into prison intelligence, right? Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I got the ace of spades over here. I think I know who shot that guy.
Wow, crazy.
I don't know how it works, but why not? People are fascinated by this and the cold cases. Somebody's out there waiting for news on a cold case that's 20, 30, 40 years old or more. There's somebody who knows something.
Absolutely. And I love it when they find them by DNA, the golden, was it the Golden State or the Golden, whatever it was. Because somebody in his family turned in their DNA trying to see if they had relatives. And this guy had gotten away with it for 30, 40 years, and they got him. Love that.
Absolutely. That's true. That's exactly. And then sometimes they figure out who did it. There was a recent case in Vegas where they found out who killed somebody, but that person has been dead for years. But at least they know that the person who killed, at least they've given the family some kind of closure.
Right.
Because somebody out there loved him and somebody out there cared about him. And yeah, it's shocking how many people are missing and how many people are victims of crimes that no one has any idea and it's funny because the solve rate, even with all the DNA and everything we have now, if you look up the solve statistics versus 20, 30, 40 years ago, they haven't changed much, oddly.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. With all the DNA and things like that, you'd think it would be different, but people are fascinated by this. That's for sure. I did one episode of this Vegas Crime Files where I had a guy on who was the sergeant in homicide when they were chasing the MS-13 guys around Vegas, who now been convicted, a couple of them. this guy had to spend, they were looking for a guy in the mountains that they knew where these guys went, these MS-13 guys, because they were tracking their movements. And they knew that they kept going up in the mountains outside of Vegas. So they track them to a certain place. Nobody was there, but they kind of started looking in places they had been, and there was somebody missing. So they traipsed through the mountains. They find this guy. And my friend had to spend the entire night on the mountain with a dead body. Until the morning, till they could get him out of there. Can you imagine sitting on the mountain, and you don't want to know what MS-13 does to people? Can you imagine sitting there on a mountain all night long with somebody who's deceased and having to guard the body?
Well, I'll tell you what, if that's my job, I'm probably used to it. The rest of us are like, no thanks.
And all I can say is God bless the cops. God bless the first responders. God bless these people who stand between us and evil, because they're absorbing things, they're seeing things, they're experiencing things so that we don't have to, right?
Yep, that's right.
And God bless them for that. And I know, people have seen, it's probably like a movie. They close their eyes and they see things that you and I can't even imagine. That they're not going to get out of their minds. So God bless them for that. So I think it's a great idea, and they should probably do that. So they're doing it. You said 18 states now they're doing these cards?
Yeah. So up in the teens, the upper teens. So good for them. And Florida first, I should have guessed that.
Yeah, right. God bless them. God bless them. How long have they been doing it in Florida? Would you say 10 years?
2007.
Oh, 20 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for them. I think it's a great idea. And every state has, at least 52 cold cases floating around, don't they?
Oh, at least. I don't know how you cull it down.
Yeah, I don't know how you cull it down either. Because if you start looking back through the records in any state, you'll find all kinds of things that, the cops they have to keep up with today. They can only give so much attention to something that happened 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They got more bodies. They get, a couple bodies a week in most places.
Oh, yeah.
So interesting. All right. Well, there's your grab yourself a little, I don't know if that will give them to the public, I don't know if the public can access these or not. Apparently at this point, they're going to be distributed in the prison system in Missouri. So we'll find out. We're going to put Sue on the case. And if she finds out any information, she'll let you know, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want to get your hands on one of those, don't you?
Well, I don't know if it'd do any good, but sure.
Yeah, people are interested. Even if you don't know anybody who's missing, you're interested in the whole story. I'm Heidi Harris in for Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've still got a jam on westbound 370, and it's all due to some earlier debris that has been cleared that backed up 70 at the Blanchette Bridge. People took 370 as an alternate, and there's a delay through there. 70 westbound is pretty good right now. Moderate volume at 141 and at Wentzville. 6440, that's Hampton out through McCausland. Eastbound, some slow pockets approaching 270 through Big Bend. Westbound, some moderate volume. Again, this at Boone's Crossing. One more time out of Prospect. Now, southbound 270 is not bad. A little slow headed for Doherty Ferry. We've got southbound 55 slowing around Butler Hill, and on the Illinois side, pretty much fine on the bridges, but 64 is westbound slowing approaching 157 and eastbound slowing approaching 159. Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, it's probably been more than a decade ago when I first met Alex and Gary Rosenberger from MasterCars, Inc., used car dealership in Granite City, Illinois, but new car caliber. And they really kind of impressed me from the very beginning, and it was later in the year. I met them in the spring, started talking about what they do there, and then by the end of the year, I went ahead and bought a car through MasterCars, Inc. They sourced me a car. They got it here to St. Louis. They did that recently for my producer emeritus, David Klein, too. So one way you can use MasterCars, very simple, say, hey, I'm looking for, in Dave's case, it was a Chevy, I think it was a Suburban or Tahoe, one of those big vehicles, right? And they got it here to St. Louis. Dave said that the buying experience was awesome. One thing he did point out is that there was one vehicle they were looking at, and Alex flagged it and said, I don't know about that one. May have had too much work done in the past. So they're going to guide you into the best caliber vehicle they can. And they have tons of fun, cars on the lot right now. Collector cars, Corvettes, classic cars. They do it all. MasterCars Inc. in Granite City. MasterCarsInc.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, We need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Here's a great offer from my friends at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet clean for $119. That's $106 in savings. You know Zero Res, the zero residue carpet cleaner. Mark Cox here. Listen, they leave your carpets truly clean with none of that dirt-attracting soap or harsh chemicals. Reach out today. This month, you're going to get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $119. Call 314-474-2020 or visit ZeroResSTL.com.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm in the air conditioning business. I don't advertise that much. I was leaving a customer's home and I was out in Illinois, and as I was driving away, my fan for my air conditioner went out. I had to cross back over into St. Louis where there was bridge construction, so massive rush hour. Backed up traffic, windows down, sweating. I had to take it straight to the dealership to drop it off because there's no way I can function, much less work, without air conditioning in my truck. And I'm the same way in my house, and every homeowner, not every homeowner, but most homeowners are the exact same way. So if you're experiencing difficulties with your air conditioner, meaning you have none, call me, Bart Inman, and it's one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. 314-293-2600. Again, Bart Inman, 314-293-2600, Missouri and Illinois. Call me. God bless.
It is not hard to destroy a college.
Last season, the podcast Campus Files brought you stories of fraternity drug rings, stolen body parts, campus cults, and more.
And now, Campus Files is back for another season.
There's a guy screaming into his phone. He's like, I just saw Charlie Kirk get assassinated right in front of me.
Every week is a new episode and a new story.
It was so chaotic.
It's almost like a university under siege.
Listen to and follow Campus Files. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Heidi Harrison for Mark Reardon. Here's Sue's News.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, happy National Senior Citizens Day. Huh? You know what? I should have looked up what age that's supposed to be, but I did not. I think we're all very young. Fred, you look young.
It's always 1 year older than what you are.
Okay, that's a really good point.
That's a great answer, Fred.
Uh-huh.
Great answer.
Yeah, this is why he's a Hall of Famer.
You know, if you were on like Family Feud and that answer got said, I don't know if that would be like on the board, but you would get major props from Steve Harvey for that one.
Totally agreed. It's also National Spumoni Day. Now, your thoughts on Spumoni. Heidi, do you know what this is?
I know it's something Italian. Is it ice cream or a dessert or something?
It's the ice cream that has it's essentially 3-layer gelato. So it's got different colors that are supposed to look, all the Italian colors. So generally, pistachio, cherry, and chocolate. And apparently when it originally came out, it had like diced fruit in it. It didn't look great. Now, Fred, do you order it, the Spumoni, or no?
Given no other choice, I would take it. But I think the fruit part kind of bothers me. I don't think I like that in the ice cream.
Yeah, sometimes they put like a chunk of cherry in there. Ethan, your thoughts? Have you had Spumoni?
I don't know if you heard me when you first said it. I was like, oh, what? I got no idea. Okay. No idea what it is.
Well,
sorry
it's
to
not
disappoint.
Great, but
so it really does need its own day.
I guess so. But I'm sure Italians out there screaming, Sue, it's fantastic. And my mother makes one and it's awesome. And I'm sure that is true. It's also National Fantasy Football Draft Day. Ethan, good Lord, I can't believe I have to talk about it. But at least Reardon is not hearing me talk about it.
It's a very special day. It's a very special day, Sue. It's where all of us dudes and some ladies out there get to live out that dream of having full control of their own team and being able to just do what they want, run it how they want. And you know what? Everyone is also undefeated at this point. There is hope for a championship.
Okay.
Do it for preseason. Now.
Oftentimes that will disappear very quickly for a lot of teams. Not me. I'm a winner. I do nothing but win. But yeah, it's a special day. Mine's coming up next week, and if you remember, Sue, we always do the fancy outfits and go suits and ties and everything. And
That's right.
I've my orders are starting to get sent in. So, we got something special planned this year.
Sue.
Yes.
And Heidi, I have never taken part in any fantasy sport.
I haven't either.
And I think the main reason is because I think it's going to take a password, and I can't remember any more passwords.
I think it's going to take a password.
Of all of the reasons.
That's right.
That's the one.
Red.
That's a good one. My hard
Thank
drive
you.
is full. I cannot remember
that's
another
right.
password.
That's right.
I get you. Absolutely.
Spumoni 123.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I guarantee you no one's using that. And so how much do you win, Ethan, on yours with the guys?
It varies, depending on the sport. But for football, we each do, I think, we only do $20 buy-in. We're all still young and broke, but I'm sure it'll continue to increase as the years goes on. I think it's like $200. It's nothing crazy.
And I think Mark says that his wife is the better player than he is in this sport.
Yeah,
really?
That could be.
Yeah, she makes good choices.
Yeah, I think he puts a little bit more money into his leagues than I do as well.
You might be right about that. On this day in history, 148 years ago, it was in the 1800s, 1878, that the American Bar Association was founded. And it was founded in Saratoga, New York by 75 lawyers from 20 states. I should have wished that to Brad, who was on earlier.
He probably celebrates it.
He probably does.
Yeah, this is like his national radio day. It's a big couple of days for Brad Young.
Yeah,
that's true.
Wow.
It really is.
Very
and
true.
on this day in history, 115 years ago, in 1911, was when the Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre. And it was by Vincenzo Perugia. And what he did was hid in a closet when the Louvre shut down, then came out at night when no one was there, and I don't know, he probably knew how the guards worked, took the frame and took it out of the frame, stuffed it in his jacket, and then just walked out with the employees the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, he was, and apparently the story goes that he had thought, well, you know what, of course he couldn't sell it. I mean, nobody, what are you going to do with it? He thought he'd get a reward when he brought it back. And no, they arrested him.
I was going to say, that would never happen today, but this literally happened, what was that, last year? Did they ever find any of the stuff that was stolen?
The Mona Lisa.
Right, but I mean, still, it was from the Louvre, right?
Yeah.
Did
they ever find that?
I'm not sure.
Have any of you guys ever seen the Mona Lisa?
I have.
I have
Fred,
not.
From a distance over the heads of many people in front of me. Do you?
No, I haven't. I think the biggest thing I've ever seen is the Starry, Starry Night.
Oh,
that's
beautiful, though. Oh, so beautiful.
Where was that at?
In D.C.
Okay.
Yeah, or New York.
The National Gallery.
I think it was New York. One of the two.
Or maybe, and then you got the National Gallery of Art in D.C., which is amazing. But they've got cameras everywhere. How can anybody get away with anything?
I know. You really have to have some chutzpah, shall we say, and an escape car, etc. Okay, Odyssey has just become the highest-grossing R-rated movie of all time, with a global take of almost $1.4 billion. And the previous record holder was Deadpool and Wolverine with a little over 1.3. And there's there's kind of a weird connection between the two. In Deadpool and Wolverine, did you see that, Ethan?
Yes.
Okay, well, you know the scene where the title characters get into a huge fight inside a Honda Odyssey?
Yes.
Okay, so Ryan Reynolds then posted a video with clips from both movies and said, quote, "Congratulations to the entire cast and crew of The Odyssey for becoming the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. That's one hell of a car."
That is hilarious. Who's seen anybody? I have not seen it yet. It looks like it's pretty good.
I've seen it.
Oh,
It was great.
Loved it. Huge fan of it. But, you know,
Okay.
Mark and I had a discussion on air after we had both seen it and had different reviews. Let's just say that mine was with the large majority of the world. Mark's was not.
Well, and let's play a little bit of this since it's Friday, Ethan. This one is the cast of Shrinking visited Sesame Street back in May to film 6 episodes. And Cookie Monster posted a behind-the-scenes clip with Harrison Ford the other day, and it's gone viral. It's the two of them eating cookies while they hum the Indiana Jones theme song.
Yeah.
Okay. As a daughter of a trumpet player, the horns are missing, is all I have to say.
Oh, that really amused me. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. The original Toy Story in 1995 was the first feature-length movie made entirely with computer imagery. That's it for Sue's News.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Moderna shares were up almost 9% today. The biotech saw its shared cancer vaccine with Merck show positive results in a late-stage trial. Moderna shares were up 177% on Wednesday, but pulled back yesterday as investors secured their gains. Shares of BJ's Wholesale Club were up 5.5% after posting better-than-expected results last quarter. The company saw earnings per share of $1.36 with revenue above $6 billion. It also raised its fiscal year forecast of earnings per share by 20 cents to a range of $4.60 to $4.80. Cryptocurrency stocks on the rise once again as Bitcoin continues to march higher. It's on a pace to be up more than 20% for the week. Robinhood shares were up 13.5% today. Coinbase up more than 8%. Wall Street finishing out the week on a high note. Dow was up 517 points at 53,277. NASDAQ added 113 points. S&P 500 picked up 33. And that's Your Money Now.
That'll be $84.52.
Perfect. Grab the bags, honey.
Mom, why do you always check your phone before we pay?
I'm just claiming my cash back on the Upside app. Since we're getting the groceries here and we filled up the car on the way, I've already earned enough this morning to pay for that pizza night we're having Friday.
Wait, so the app pays for pizza?
Not exactly, but the cash I earn on stuff we need helps us pay for the stuff we want. It's just a little win for our family every week.
Get more out of your everyday. Upside is the free app that gets you cash back on routine purchases like gas, groceries, and dining out at more than 100,000 locations nationwide. No points, no rebates, just cash back straight to your wallet. Download the free Upside app and use promo code ACT5 to get a $5 bonus on your first purchase. That's promo code ACT5 to get a $5 bonus. Remember, use promo code ACT5.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
We just had a great seminar with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group a week ago. It was last Tuesday, and it was great. We had a bunch of listeners there to meet with Bob and Tammy Kershaw and to hear maybe what is a different philosophy when it comes to making sure you have enough money in retirement. And, you know, they're going to talk about safely linking to the market. That's going to make sure you lock in your gains, you do not lose your principal. That's one of the key components of what they do at the Retirement Advisory Group. And if you're skeptical about some of the things that they talk about, we'll go into the office one-on-one. We just had a seminar. We're not going to have one of those again until probably October. But if you're 59 and a half or older in particular, when you can roll over your 401k into something that's going to save you with taxes, you should do that right now with the help of the Retirement Advisory Group. And then if you so insist, if you're stubborn, you want to make sure that you go in a group setting where you can wait for the next announcement, which will probably be about 4 to 6 weeks from now. RetirementKey.com. Do us a huge favor. Tell them that we sent you over. It's RetirementKey.com.
Many times, a person hires a law firm after an injury without doing research.
It can be a big mistake or not. Sometimes, after you have hired a certain lawyer, you realize you made a certain mistake. But guess what? Just because you hire them doesn't mean you can't fire them. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you think you've hired the wrong firm, you may have. So do this. Google Morgan & Morgan results or visit forthepeople.com for cases just like yours. You may find that our full-service injury firm should have been your choice in the first place. Last year, almost 12,000 people discharged their law firm and hired us after further research. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason. Visit forthepeople.com today and let's get started. Or call Pound Law on your cell phone. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 4:33. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Hey, where you going? The party just started. We're celebrating America 250 all year long on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. Mark Reardon returns on Monday. He's out there screwing around at the golf tournament. That's what he's doing. I could finesse you, but that's what he's doing. Having a great time. We're going to talk a little bit more about the big golf tournament this weekend. We'll talk about that next hour. Well, let's talk a little movie stuff. Paul Hall's here with Common Guys Film Reviews. How are you doing, Paul? Welcome to the Mark Reardon Show.
I'm doing well, Heidi. I declare mutiny today. Mark is not here, so mutiny seems to be the way we have to go.
And we have a clip from that, don't we?
We do.
Born and raised in London. Father was a cop, grandfather was a cop. We ends up serving under his dad, investigating a human trafficking operation. So why'd he leave the UK? Follow those codes.
By now, what matters is we get those people to safety.
Tell me what you want. Everybody wants something. Vengeance.
Well, what'd you think of the movie?
Well, Heidi Sue, I have to ask you, Jason Statham fans or not? Of course, this would be the first question I'd ask you.
I liked him in The Meg. Does that count for anything?
It does. It's a Jason Statham film.
It was a great movie. It was. I don't care. It's a popcorn movie. What about you, Sue? She's ignoring us. That's okay.
Yeah, I would.
I like Statham.
No,
I haven't seen a ton of his stuff, but I like him. So how was he in this?
Well, if you've seen any of his movies, every one of his movies is very similar. He's that tough guy that's there. Things happen, and I regret someone's comment online about, someone's going to get in his way, someone's going to die, and he's going to go for vengeance. And that's kind of really what a lot of his films revolve around. Why? He does it well. Look, this movie is not going to win any awards. It's not going to be the movie that you fall back on and go, you know what I saw this weekend? Mutiny. It was really amazing. I won't forget it ever. No, I probably will forget it in about a week. But it's something you put on in the background later on, and you get 90 minutes of just nonstop action along the way. It's a fun movie. Am I going to tell you to rush out to the theater to see it? No, but you could do a lot worse than checking this out in theaters or when it finally comes home. They had a big controversy earlier this week. Seems like there was a major streaming service that released this for free to its streaming platform earlier this week by mistake.
Uh-oh.
And so they had to kind of make good. There's some studios that are a little bit upset with the streaming service, and there's stories out there, so I'll leave that to you if you want to dig up which streaming service did it. But Mutiny's in theaters only officially this week.
Okay, interesting. So you were talking about Jason Statham, and I like him. Okay, but it kind of reminds me of what Tom Cruise movies are. Other than we all liked Top Gun Maverick, but it's always Tom Cruise in a car, Tom Cruise on a motorcycle. He's not an actor; he's a movie star, and that's different. So it sounds like the way you're describing Jason Statham, he's a movie star more than he is an actor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. There's a reason why he was in The Expendables early in his career, because he was there already. He was at that point where him, Steven Seagal, that whole ilk of actors can do all those action films. However, I think Statham's got a lot of talent outside of his action chops, but that's kind of where he's pigeonholed right now. And let's be honest, he's making a lot of money doing it.
Well, nothing wrong with that. By the way, I saw Sue mentioned this earlier. Odyssey, highest grossing R-rated movie in history. That's amazing. And I was, talking with Ethan during the break about it. He's seen it. I have not. But I was thinking, testosterone's back and it's popular, isn't it? That's how I look at it, Paul.
Well, I don't know. I mean, think about the Odyssey and what it's based on. I mean, the works of Homer, which is something that, is as long as we can remember. I might be a little older than that. I don't know. But I'll tell you, it's done well. And it's Christopher Nolan behind it. Now, Christopher Nolan is amazing in everything he did. And this was one of those few cases, I usually agree with Mark a lot on a lot of things. Mark was absolutely wrong, and Ethan is right on this one. And Ethan can take this clip and use it later to his advantage along the way. But this is a really good movie. It's one of my favorites of this year.
It feels so good to hear those words, and it's what I was going to follow up with because, I mean, listen, I'm not one to, make noise just to make noise. Mark is the one that knows a lot more about movies than I do. But I could not believe that when Mark says he doesn't like a movie that I really liked, it makes me question if I really liked that movie or not. And I was like, there's just no way. It felt so well done. The timing of it, a lot of the different shots. It was just so enjoyable.
It's amazing to look at. And for an R-rated movie, this is one that, yes, it's R-rated because of a lot of the violence that is in it. It's definitely a different R than Deadpool and Wolverine, but both are decent for what they are. You've got to fit them in their niche. You got to do and see what you're seeing instead of trying to lump all the R-rated movies necessarily together.
We're speaking with Paul Hall from Common Guys Film Reviews. I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. What I said about testosterone, I do think that people like seeing men do men things, and that seems to do, as far as I'm concerned, better at the box office than some of these other things.
It does, and it's one of those things where the romantic comedy, the dramas, unless the comedy breaks out of its shell, shall we say, and becomes something bigger, they kind of have their little niches where the big budget action film, which is very testosterone driven in many cases, no matter what one you look up and down the line, those are kind of universal. They go anywhere. They translate anywhere. The reason why you don't get a big worldwide box office on a lot of those type of films or period pieces or dramas or whatever is that the language that we speak here is not necessarily the same language in China. And so certain things do not translate into other languages, and therefore a great big comedy here, a great big action film here, or a great big drama or a romance here does not necessarily translate as well as something blowing up. If it's blowing up here, it's blowing up there, it's blowing up everywhere.
Interesting. Never thought about that. Earned $124 million in the opening weekend. That's just crazy. Now it's earned $429. I know you know this, but for those who don't, $429 million domestically, $578 million in international ticket sales. Wow.
But that's a fraction of what Spider-Man's doing. And the difference is Spider-Man being PG-13 having such a universal appeal. In 9 days, that became the top film this year. In its first 9 days Spider-Man was out, it was the top film in America. And that in and of itself is a feat that is crazy when you think of we're sitting here in August and you've had, 8 months of other films.
Right. What does that tell you, Paul Hall, Common Guy Film Reviews, about people and their dollar, their movie dollar? Because obviously movie tickets have gotten way more expensive. I don't know about you, but I have to have the red vines and the popcorn and the drink when I go to the movies. So there's another $30 out the window. And a lot of people are watching their budgets, but they still make time and make the money to go see these movies.
Well, yeah, people are spending their big bucks when they go to see the big titles, the ones that are elaborate enough that your home screen, no matter how good it is at home, can't do as good of a job as the giant screen. As Ethan would attest with the Odyssey, if you don't see that on the biggest screen possible, you're kind of letting yourself down because that one offers so much more on a bigger screen. Now, I'll tell you what, there is a way to do this cheap sometimes. And I love to give people cheap options. There's mystery movies that come up once every couple weeks from the Marcus Group and the other theater chains. Marcus has one this weekend, a family one on Sunday. $6 to get in. You take your family.
Nice.
Now, you don't know what it's going to be, but I
Oh.
really believe, and it's a family title this weekend, I really believe it's going to be a big animated one that we're going to talk about on this airwaves next week that I have seen. And I'll tell you, what's up, Doc, to this movie? Acme is in trouble when it comes to getting sued by Coyote. That's just my guess. I have no inside information. That's Sunday at, I think, 1 o'clock at all the Marcuses, including Ronnie's and the others in town. So you don't know, though. It could be something totally different. I've seen some really bad ones, and I've seen some good ones. There's one on Sunday that's family friendly, and then there's a second one on Monday that's R-rated for those of you who want to see something more adult. I think that's at 7 o'clock as well. Those are $6 to get in. Even if you hate it, $6 is a lot cheaper than a Starbucks.
Well, absolutely. And it's nice to know that people still are going to the movies because it was so sad what happened during 2020 and all that. And a lot of people just didn't go back. And it's nice to see people out there actually supporting the good movies. It's great to see these big movies having these huge dates.
Yeah, definitely. I want to mention something before we get out of here really quickly. There's a good documentary over on Netflix called Free Fall: A Reckoning for Boeing. Josh Hawley, Missouri senator, is in there among other people. Incredible examination of the whole Boeing case and the whistleblower who took his life as it goes. Really good behind the scenes look into the Boeing information. And then we lost Hayden Panettiere earlier this week.
Yeah.
And she will always be Beth Cooper to me. There's been a number of movies, but I Love You, Beth Cooper is one of those niche movies that hit me right in the heart of kind of growing up. And I always wanted to, that idea of you having a crush on that perfect quote unquote girl out there and wanting to do anything for them. She was pretty amazing in what she did. All kinds of weird stories behind the scenes on what may or may not have happened here. I won't get into any of that, but she had a really incredible career, over 70 movies credited to her on IMDb, and she was just a young lady, and yet, 70 movies. She'd been in the industry forever.
Wow. I didn't realize the extent. Yeah, I hadn't. And that's what Ethan was saying. He kind of grew up with her, watching her, beautiful girl in tons of movies. It just breaks your heart. 36 years old.
I mean, Remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's not like she's a main character, but she has a very loud role in that movie still. So I mean, very sad news this week with Hayden Panettiere. Her stage presence brings her to the screen, Ethan, and that's the one thing you get is you will always know when she was on the screen because she just grabbed what was there. It is 25 years this year for The Fast and the Furious, and that is actually doing another kind of retro run in a lot of theaters this weekend too, and with some of the coolest looking popcorn merch out there. They got the car you can actually get as a popcorn bucket. Great thing for on your wall if you're a big fan of that movie. 25 years.
Wow.
Fast and Furious. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're up to what? Fast and Furious number 25 now? Or what number are they up to?
We're coming up on, I think, 10.
Okay. It's Hollywood. They find a formula and they stick to it. They never.
If the formula works, it's going to make you a lot of money. And a lot of people don't want any deviations from the formula because they're comfortable. It's comfort food.
Well, because they have so many movies that don't work that we don't really hear much about that flop. They spend a lot of money on those, so they got to go with the sure thing. Paul Hall, great talking with you, and it'll be fun to see what you talk with Mark Reardon next week about with the movie that you're not telling us about.
That What's Up Doc movie, that Acme versus Coyote, that Catch Up Entertainment film. Yeah, it's coming next week. We'll talk about it. I've seen it, and I can't tell you that I liked it, so don't imply anything like that. But I didn't tell you that.
We're not going to say anything. It'll be our little secret. Off the record's off the record. No one heard you. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you being here.
Take care.
I'm Heidi Harris in for Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
70 westbound out of downtown is in good shape at this hour. Little slow at K and at Wentzville, but that's it. We still have some extra volume on 370 headed for the bridge. Southbound 270 slowing at Page and on either side of 64. And 64 eastbound is slowing now, approaching 170 through Big Bend. It's also a little slow at 270. And that's jamming up southbound 170, trying to get onto eastbound 40. Now, westbound traffic there isn't bad. Moderate volume at Clayton Skinker. And then it slows again out at Prospect. On the Illinois side, 64 eastbound still jammed, approaching 157. It's closed between 255 and 18th Street. They hope to have that reopened by Monday at 5 a.m. And eastbound 64 slows approaching 159. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Why pay full insurance when you can customize and save? Switch to Liberty Mutual and they'll customize your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Mark Cox here. Join me for breakfast Friday, September 11th from 5 to 9 a.m. at Chicken Ellie's in Eureka. We're raising funds for Focus Marines Foundation. Proceeds go straight to supporting our veterans. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IBW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Hey guys, Cam Jansen here. Don't miss a hot tub and swim spa blowout sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the St. Charles Convention Center in the South Hall. Choose from over 30 American-made units on display. See hot tubs, swim spas, and cold tubs all ready for immediate delivery. Save up to 50% off MSRP. Financing is available. For more information, call 1-800-SPA-SALE. That's 1-800-SPA-SALE.
Gentlemen, Mark Cox here. When's the last time you actually felt like yourself? Victory Men's Health specializes in hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, and longevity. It's built for everyday men who just want to feel better and perform their best. They already have offices in Town and Country, Sunset Hills, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. They're about to open a new location in Glen Carbon very soon. It's a higher standard of care just waiting for you. Learn more at victorymenshealth.com.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSuperCenterofSt.Louis.com. That's GeneratorSuperCenterofSt.Louis.com.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. Before we get to Frank Cusumano, I have to address this from the text line. By the way, if you'd like to text us, 314-241-9797, 314-241-9797. Somebody says, why does Heidi Harris keep on saying over and over, Heidi Harris in for Mark Reardon? I'll tell you why, because it's not my show. I've had my own show for many years, but this isn't my show, and I think out of respect, I do it. And also, when you tune in to the radio, which people do constantly in, out, you want to know who you're hearing, right? That's why I do it. So I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. Hi, Frank Cusumano, KSDK Sports Director. How you doing, sir?
Heidi, good to be with you out here at gorgeous Belle Reve Country Club. Round 2 about to wrap up. The heat got a little more sweltering than I thought. There's no wind that would account for the good scores and the soft greens. But in general, it's a magnificent day. They set a record yesterday with 28,000 attendance-wise, and I think there were more there today. And, let me just say this. Is they've been doing this BMW Championship for 20 years. They've never had a Thursday where they drew 28,000. Over the weekend, there could be 80,000, 40,000 Saturday, 40,000 Sunday. So St. Louis, like it always does, nails the big event with great attendances.
I love it. I'm absolutely thrilled about that. I know a lot of the crew's going to be out there over the weekend. Real quickly, before we get into other stuff, I wanted to ask you what you thought of Fernando Mendoza and how he's done for the first couple of games. I know it's preseason. How's he looking? The Raiders think he's going to be the answer to their, horrible leadership, but maybe he is. I love him. We all love him.
Well, we do, and there's a lot to love about him. His leadership is off the charts. He's really one of the great character guys we've ever had in college football. I think my gut feel is that he probably won't start day one. Kirk Cousins is a very polished, accomplished quarterback, and I think they're going to go with him initially. Maybe Mendoza week 4, week 5. He's done reasonably well in the preseason. I don't think his game 2 was great, but everything you hear out of Las Vegas is, yeah, this is the quarterback for the future.
Frank, I want to go back to the BMW Championship here. First off, have there been any Mark Reardon sightings up to this point?
Yes, I did see him in the press room. But I'll say this for him. You know, the press room is where it's air conditioned and there's TVs and lots of food. But Mark, though, has been more in the trenches and kind of walking. And that's what you got to do. I mean, there's a lot of people who just sit in that media room the whole time. And I understand because the food's really good. But you got to go out and experience, and you got to see these guys, 10 feet away, hitting these unbelievable shots. So I think that's the only way. A little bit of both is the best way to experience this golf tournament.
Okay, I'm glad that Mark's not just sitting in the AC. That's what he's used to. He's kind of, as you know, he's kind of pampered. So I'm glad that he's working hard. We look at the leaderboard here. You got Gary Woodland, Wyndham Clark at the top, J.J. Spawn's in the mix. Scotty Scheffler a little bit lower down on the list. What have you taken so far from the first, just about 2 days of golf?
Oh, look, I just got finished interviewing Gary Woodland, who now has a share of the lead with Wyndham Clark. If you're pulling for somebody to win this tournament, it's Gary Woodland. This is a guy who has overcome a brain tumor. He has overcome mental health issues. He has overcome so many things in his life to be here. And here he is, tied with Wyndham Clark for the lead. He's from the University of Kansas, and he said that his team actually had pulled out some clothing for him to wear this weekend, and it was black and gold. And he said, no, I'm a Jayhawk. There's no way I am wearing Mizzou colors in St. Louis for this tournament. So he's a great guy. You got to root for him. And in terms of Scotty Scheffler, look, he started the day with 43 golfers ahead of him, and now there's only 22. He was 5 under 65 today. You have to fear him. He's the only guy who could be in 23rd place, and everybody having Scotty Scheffler on their mind. So this could end up just being an incredible Sunday here at Belle Reef.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of attention over him. It sounds like it's going to be a great weekend here in St. Louis. Switching over to Cardinals baseball, some notable news today and not some great news. Andre Palante, one of the Cardinals' tough guys as far as impactful pieces on the starting rotation this year, is going to the injured list with elbow inflammation. Have to imagine that we're probably going to see a little bit more Quinn Matthews as a result of this, but your immediate thoughts to this, Frank?
Well, that's a blow because you're 2.5 games out of the final wild card playoff spot, and you want the Italian Stallion pitching every 5th day. I think with the exception of Jordan Walker, the next most shocking season for the Cardinals is Andre Palante, who last year was 6-16. Nobody had any faith that he would come into this rotation to win a spot and then to be one of the better starting pitchers in the National League. So this is a big blow. Hopefully it's minor and he's back in a couple of weeks. But yeah, this one definitely hurts.
Frank Cusumano, KSDK Sports Director, thanks for being here. Have a good time in that tent, hanging out in the air conditioning. Don't lie. You know you're in there.
All right. Thank you so much, Heidi. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. I'm Heidi Harris, in for Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Have some volume on eastbound 6440, and it's essentially from 270 through Big Bend. Westbound still a little bit slow at Clayton Skinker. 70 westbound looks fine in the city. Some volume though at just past 94 at K and at Wentzville. Eastbound 70 slowing at Forest Dell. Now southbound 270 is not bad. It's slow at the Clayton Road overpass and at 21. 55 is just slow right around Butler Hill and then south of Highway M. It's the Illinois side that's jammed. Westbound 64 at 157. And eastbound traffic is lined up as well, and that's due to road work right at 159. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. They do everything from siding to bathrooms and deliver quality craftsmanship with lifetime warranties. go to lakesiderd.com. Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
What if you saved money every time you spent money? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can. Every time you use your debit card with Achieve It Checking, the change from your purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar and automatically deposited into your savings. And Together Credit Union will help you reach your savings goals even faster by matching qualifying savings. Up to $8 a month. Learn more or enroll today by visiting a Together Credit Union branch near you or online at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA.
If you haven't had your roof checked in the last 5 years, it's time for roof maintenance. Mark Cox here for my friends at Corel Roofing Company. Listen, Curtis is going to come out or a member of his crew and get up on your roof for free to see what's going on. If you've got damage, I can't think of anyone better to work with your insurance adjuster to get that coverage. Recently, Curtis went to bat for one of his customers and got her coverage from 2024 storm damage with 2024 deductibles. He works hard at this and he prides himself, and he took his whole crew to Kansas City recently for additional training working with adjusters to make sure you get what you deserve. Corel Roofing has crews with over 20 years of experience, and it doesn't matter what kind of shingles you need, they've got you covered. 314-222-9529. That's 314-222-9529. Tell them Mark sent you. Go to CorelRoofingCo.com.
We are almost to the weekend, but prior to that, Brando Showalter, Dan Reardon coming up in the final hour of the Mark Reardon Show.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
For the decision. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump reacting on Truth Social to the decision by Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts allowing the construction of the White House ballroom to continue. It'll cost $400 million, but the president told reporters it's all coming from private funds.
No taxpayer money for the ballroom at all.
The ruling from Justice Roberts coming as the Supreme Court considers the administration's emergency request to intervene in lawsuits over the project. The president made the comments before heading to Myrtle Beach for a rally tonight in support of Senator Darlene Graham. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance traveled to a steel facility in Middletown, Ohio, to make the case for Republicans ahead of the midterms.
Vice President Vance asked workers at the Cleveland Cliffs Middletown Steelworks facility to vote for Republicans this fall, including John Husted for Senate and Vivek Ramaswamy for governor.
Now, we got to ask ourselves, imagine if they get back in power, what are they going to vote for? If these radicals take control of Congress, they're going to pass the craziest agenda America has ever seen.
He said under President Trump, there's been an explosion in building up American manufacturing with trillions invested in new facilities and plants. He also announced $1 billion investment by the Department of Energy and Cleveland Cliffs Steel in their Middletown Works flagship plant.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Cleanup underway in Dover, Delaware after a rare tornado blew through last night.
6:18 to be exact is when that tornado came ripping and rolling on through. Now, the National Weather Service has yet to survey the damage here, so we don't know the EF rating. I'm giving it loosely as a meteorologist, perhaps an EF1 rating.
Fox Weather's Michael Estime in Dover. Another tornado was confirmed on New York's Long Island in Atlantic Beach, tearing apart buildings at a beach club. Wall Street stocks rose, trimming losses from a shaky week, even though the bond market remained jumpy. The Dow gained 518, the Nasdaq up 113. America's listening to Fox News.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil. One simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to Metamucil.com for more details.
Ice Cube's Big 3 season has come down to this. The Big 3 Championship is coming to Charlotte. Who will be crowned the Big 3 Season 9 champion? Plus the Big 3 All-Star Game. The biggest names in the game, all on one court, one more time. 2 games of the most physical, competitive, and non-stop 3-on-3 action. The game played the way you love. Watch live Saturday on CBS at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and catch replays Monday on BET.
Yay, yay! Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
We almost have to check the calendar. Delightful weather all weekend long. Clear skies, 70s this evening, 69 for the overnight low. Maybe a spot thunderstorm towards morning, but really, really tough to find. Saturday, a spot early morning thunderstorm, tough to find. Otherwise, great day. Partly to mostly sunny, 86. Saturday night, clear and nice, 65. And Sunday, 83. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
For Mark Reardon. Mark is out at the golf course, of course, like thousands of other people. And over the weekend, they're expecting, 40,000 people a day to go out to the BMW Championship. It's going to be lots of fun over the weekend. Beautiful weather. I had a chance to chat with a terrific guy. He's a culture warrior. His name is Brando Showalter. I did that on a podcast I do called the Heidi Harris Show podcast. And we did this the other day. I had seen an article he'd written. I've followed him for years. He writes for the Christian Post. And he wrote an article about what he's learned in the 10 years that he's been writing on the transgender issue, because it is a huge issue. And we see more coming out about it every single day, but there's a lot that people don't know about it. So I wanted to have him join me on Mark's show so you all could hear him if you hadn't heard him any other place or read about him. You certainly need to follow him. He's terrific. Brando, thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Heidi.
He's been so courageous all these years to write about the trans issue. And talk about, for those who've not read the article, talk about some of the things that you realized covering this in 10 years that the average person was not aware of about, let's call it the transgender industry, right? That's a good term for it, don't you think?
I do think that's a great term for it. And industry is entirely appropriate, because the way in which this has been framed to the public is that quote unquote transgender people are this tiny group of struggling, marginalized, people who just want to live their lives like anybody else. And so it's framed in civil rights terms, when really what's at stake is reality itself. That's not overstating it. And there's an entire ideological apparatus operating underneath. And as you say, an industry that's seeking to profit both with money and with political power by, we've seen some of these things, what they call gender transitions, biggest misnomer in the world, where we are now cutting off the breasts of girls as young as 12 in this country, doing genital disfigurements of boys as young as 15 in this country, and I have receipts proving that. That's probably the worst of it, but we're seeing that this ideology, transgenderism, like you say, been reporting on it for over 10 years now, has infected every single area of society. You mentioned the article I wrote. I wrote another one today where I'll say I quoted someone who says that the reason people can't stop talking about this issue is that, again, in addition to the false framing, transgenderism is the clearest lens through which we see the disintegration of every single Western institution. If you want to know why our society is corroding and eroding like it is, it's because we have introduced an enormously consequential lie that basically that says human sex can change. It cannot. It's not a small issue. It's destroying everything it touches. And I think Americans are finally waking up to the reality that this is so much bigger than what they ever thought.
Absolutely true. When you're talking about something as immutable as sex, how you're born,
Right.
the parts you're born with, and that can change, that you're right. I mean, it affects every aspect of society because everything else gets easily changed, I guess. That's what
Yes.
they want you to believe.
Yes. I mean, just think about it. A lie that is that big, there's no way for that to just stay narrowly confined or dormant to just a few people who may have some psychiatric distress.
Right.
When Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the author of the Gulag Archipelago, his famous phrase, "Live not by lies." Well, what could be a bigger lie than the fact that your sex is encoded in your genes, in this nucleus of nearly every single cell in your body? And if we're just going to just change that at will because of a few feelings of some troubled people, it stuns me, Heidi, that people can't see the ripple effects after all of these years. But the activists have been very stealthily changing things in the shadows before the public was even able to perceive what was going on. And of course, hooking it to the wagon of civil rights makes Americans psychologically predisposed to sort of go along with it. Because if you can equate this issue with, say not turning the water hoses on the black people in the South, or, separate water fountains, or, sicking the dogs on them, if that's just an extension of what that is, Americans are predisposed to buy into it. I think that's an offensive comparison because the struggle of black people in the South was very real, and it's great that equality was achieved for them, but people have hooked that to the wagon of this kind of thing where this is just the next frontier of civil rights. Nothing can be further from the truth. I believe transgenderism is many things, but one of the worst things that it is an enormous medical scandal. But again, it's been perversely rebranded as something that we have to support because it's quote-unquote health care or gender-affirming care for a struggling group of people. No, it's a consequential lie that is disfiguring healthy human bodies, it's tearing apart families, it's creating enormous injustices within our institutions, and it's been pretty doggone hard for the last decade to just try to get the public to understand what this actually is. So now we are finally seeing something of a reckoning with the current posture of the federal government. But people need to know that this remains deeply embedded and entrenched in our elite institutions still. And I think many of them are just trying to stay dormant for the next couple of years before they can rage back.
That's exactly right. We're speaking with Brando Showalter from the Christian Post. I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. It's so important what you said because, the things that are going on with people. Well, we have two different groups of people. You've got the people who are in on it, and then you've got the parents, many of whom are not in on this, but they are told, well, if you don't let your daughter transition, we know she doesn't transition, but take the drugs, it'll turn her in growing facial hair, cause her to grow, then your daughter's going to kill herself if you don't let her do this. That's what parents are taught. And so they love their kids. They don't want bad things to happen. Even the parents who are not on board the trans thing. And as you and I have discussed in the past, and you and I discussed on my podcast, this is not a political issue. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. I've talked to many liberal parents, you have too, who are absolutely against this. And a lot of gay people are not on board with this either. So let's not drag them into this, right?
It is so across the spectrum. And as a traditional Christian in every sense of the phrase, I have spoken with everybody, and I don't care what your politics are, your sexuality. It's like, if you think it's wrong to cut the body parts off of a child or give a child or a young person cross-sex hormones and blockers to alter their body irreversibly in pursuit of something that is physically impossible, I do not care. I mean, for goodness sakes, a medical scandal affects everyone. I have fielded phone calls from very liberal parents, homosexuals, everybody. Like, people are starting to realize what's going on, and they will reach out to anybody who's being remotely truthful about it. And so if your listeners are concerned about this, I would say the best thing to do is put all of your politics aside and focus on that one thing, because you'll find that, especially if it's a family that's affected, the suffering that they are under is absolutely staggering. It's unimaginable the kind of hell that has been unleashed in their families. And if you can't see past your politics to see the humanity of people, I think you need to examine your soul, because I would not wish the kinds of horror that these families endure when they realize that their child's going to wind up sterile or disfigured. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, Heidi. It's absolutely horrific what people are going through. And as much as there are certain people that are culpable for it and I think are to be blamed, I as a Christian want to posture myself and just be a servant and just try to help. So I would say, please put your politics aside. If you know somebody that's being affected by this, see their humanity first and don't look at it through a political lens, because honestly, if your kid's going to wind up sterile, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. This is harmful. This is a deep, deep moral wrong. It's a stain on our nation's history, and it must end. And I'm grateful to see some of the federal actions, but again, people have to understand This remains deeply entrenched in our institutions, and even as some gender clinics are being closed now because the Justice Department is forcing them to and funds are being withheld, these activists who are doing this horrible, harmful medicalization to people are creatively trying to rebrand and stealthily do it, and they're just hoping that they can wait this out. So do not think that even with the things that are happening now that this is going away unless it is thoroughly defeated. And
Right,
you're going
'cause
to have
there's
to
a
do that by caring about people, no matter what their politics are.
That's right. There's a huge amount of money in it, obviously, tons
Yes.
of money in it, whether the surgery and what people need to understand. And I know you and I get this. Some people don't get it, not because they're stupid, because they've never really looked into it. What they need to understand is when let's say you have a 12-year-old boy and suddenly he starts questioning, he wants to be a girl. He's not going to be a girl ever. And what they're going to do is make him a lifetime medical patient. That's what they're going to do. And people don't understand that. You can't change the body parts. And we've all seen the pictures of what goes on with your body parts when they basically do. I mean, they put Mengele to shame. I'm not the first to say that, by the way, and use that example of what Mengele did, these experiments that he did. It's just that kind of thing they're doing. They're never going to be okay. They take these kids, many of whom have previous trauma, abuse, neglect, other things going on in their lives. They ignore all of that. No, your real problem is you think you're another sex, send them down the hall for that, and they become a lifetime medical patient. That's something everyone also needs to understand that I don't think they do.
They don't, because once you start on this pathway, you have to keep the illusion going because you can never override your chromosomes. Your chromosomes set in motion all of the physiological changes, your pubertal signaling, there's just thousands of differences between the sexes, and it's literally encoded in our genes. And so that's immutable. It will never, ever change. And so this illusion that they're selling that you can somehow change it by exogenously pumping your body full of hormones or cutting off certain body parts and lopping them off and then tacking on artificial ones, your genes will never change. You'll do a DNA test, it will always say XX or XY. And sometimes people throw in the intersex thing with these rare genetic, disorders, and the trans activists sort of use that to try and create complexity where there is none. No, even those conditions are sex specific. There are males with those conditions and females with those conditions. Your sex will never change. Biology has to be primary because it is. And so the great lie, and activists have successfully bifurcated in the public mind this notion of sex and gender. They use them interchangeably. Sex, what only two genders? There are only two sexes. I would say to people, just in order to clear up all of the confusion that exists around this, never, ever, ever say gender when what you really mean is biological sex. Because then the activists have then confused that, and they'll say things like, well, I'm not changing my sex, I'm changing my gender. Well, yes, you are trying to change your sex, because if you're not, why are you cutting off reproductive organs? Why are you trying to, your drugs that you're taking are going to impact your reproductive capacity? Yes, you are trying to change your sex, but you're just calling it gender. So people have to realize the deep layers of confusion that have been swirling around in our public discourse and understand that it is physically impossible to change sex. And if anybody is trying to tell you otherwise, they are a liar.
No, they're a liar, and that's a big problem. And we lie to these people, and we tell them this can happen, and we know it can happen, and the suicide rate is higher with these people. And another thing that's important is you want my acceptance, right? You're mad if somebody gets mad if you misgender them somewhere. I can't accept you if you don't accept yourself. You're the one chopping off body parts and taking drugs. And by the way, nobody here hates transgender people. I'm trying to protect them from being turned into medical eunuchs. I feel for them, but you want me to accept you, but you can't accept yourself. And that's why you continue to have surgery after surgery and more pills to try to become something you're not. And you still wind up unhappy.
And it doesn't even work. And not to be facetious about this, Heidi, but there actually isn't any such thing in a true literal sense as a transgender person. They may identify as such, but it's actually not a physical reality because no one can ever be, you are only ever always a male or a female.
Right.
That's it. That's it. And so the whole, the locution transgender is actually a false ontology. It's a false anthropology. It is a physical impossibility. And yeah, we should want to protect them from a predatory medical industry. But yes, it is. And here's the thing. I even know of parents that tried to sort of go along and they didn't misgender whatever. It's never enough. It doesn't work. Because they're pursuing an empty promise. And so even parents who do go along, they soon find that nothing is ever enough.
Exactly.
It's never
Exactly.
enough.
That's exactly what happens. Well, I'll accept this, I'll accept that, because the problem is psychological with this kid, and nothing is going to make them happy. No, if I get this surgery, I'll be happy. If I get that surgery, be happy. No, you won't, because your problem is psychological. It has nothing at all to do with the way you were born.
Yep. You don't cut
Yeah.
the body to heal the mind.
Thank you. And by the way, if they find your skeleton in the woods and some pathologist looks at it, they're going to go, oh, the pelvis, that was a boy. That was a girl.
Yep.
Pretty simple here, kids.
Exactly right.
I mean, it's terrible. And like I said, nobody here hates transgender people. We're not talking about that. We're trying to protect these children, and adults do it too. And we can't do much if they're over 18, trying to protect these children from being institutionalized and institutionally destroyed is really what's happening here. And when you and I did this podcast, and people can look up my podcast, Heidi Harris Show, it's on the Odyssey app or anywhere you get podcasts. I put some links to actual pictures of what has happened with them trying to recreate what they cut off of, or when it's a girl and they try to recreate something for a boy. I'm going to be clean about this here. Put it up there because people need to know what they're dealing with. And all this is doing is making some people a lot of money and making a lot of other people very miserable. And it's got to stop.
It is, Heidi, I genuinely believe that it is one of the worst social and medical scandals of all time. And I think it's particularly pernicious because unlike previous medical scandals, say like, thalidomide or the opioids or, medical scandals of yesteryear, lobotomies or whatever, none of those were attached to sort of a psychological conditioning effort to make medicalization a part of who you are. Yeah. These young people who are being lured down this path, and I'll even use the word groomed, they come to believe that in order to be who they are, to have an identity, they have to become experiments of the medical establishment. Right. I don't know of any previous medical scandal where, being drugged and irreversibly carved up, sorry to be crass here, but I don't know of any previous medical scandal where there was this process of brainwashing to make you think that you have to be who you are and to do these things to your body. It's like a form of self-actualization almost. There weren't lobotomy identities or thalidomide identities. It's like it wasn't attached to your psychological well-being like this stuff is. I think that's what's so ugly and predatory about it, particularly because a lot of these young people, as you say, are already struggling with other psychiatric issues. They're already dealing with abuse or trauma or depression or other mental health struggles. So children and young people that are already having a hard time in life are then told that in order to be who they are, they have to drug their bodies further with chemicals and hormones that their systems aren't designed to handle, and they have to, cut off body parts, which is then going to affect their other systems, because if you're a young person, you're a young man and you cut off your testicles, that's going to compromise your endocrine system. Your body isn't just a robot where you can just chop certain parts off, and it's not going to function because we are integrated entire organisms that are meant to function with all of our systems intact.
That's
so
right.
You can't just do this and treat like you're not just a Mr. Potato Head. That's not how it works.
Exactly right. I think I saw a story about Mr. Potato Head now being able to interchange parts, and we won't veer off on that. I was thinking too about the idea that there are a lot of kids who have other problems at home, problems feeling alienated for whatever reason, and they find a quote unquote online community. And then that community convinces them they need to join their community. But the minute they have questions or decide, well, I'm not so sure I want to do, that community completely rejects them. And that's another hurt to these kids who already are feeling alienated from the group, any group.
The cult-like dynamics are unmistakably just that. And I don't think secular, sometimes people think of cults as just this kind of religious thing. Well, there are religious cults and there are secular cults. Yeah. And when you have a belief system that does not allow you to question, there's ostracism when you dare to dissent and you're just sort of punished and excluded and shunned from the group. It's very cult-like. It absolutely is that way. And yes, it's so strong that I know of, especially online where a lot of this is cultivated, there are these phrases that get tossed around amongst trans activists and those who have been, lured into this. They say, death before detransition. That's what they say. It's that strong. They feel like they have to double down and die before they can ever admit that they were wrong and undergo the process of detransitioning, even though that's not a thing because nobody transitions, but you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
like you can't, the belief is that strong that you have to believe the lie so hard that you would rather die to confront the truth that in fact, no, you maybe got snookered and you were lied to, that your body wasn't okay.
Yeah, we got people right now who still back Fauci after all the stuff that's come out. We don't veer off on that. We won't do that today, but very important. Brando Showalter, Christian Post. Follow him, everybody, on at the Christian Post. Follow what he does. I've been following him for years. Thank you for taking the time, my friend, and thank you for your clarity, and thank you for your guts in this world of crazy people in the culture.
Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate it.
Thanks. I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads this afternoon, it's really not too bad, but there's an accident eastbound 6440 past Chesterfield Airport Road on the right shoulder. So if you see something on the way by, that's what's going on. Now, it's a Friday night, so we've got some eastbound 40 traffic anywhere from Lindbergh through Big Bend. Westbound looks fine through there, but out west it slows at Prospect. And we've got northbound 270. Oh, yeah, there was an accident here north of Dorset, and it's been blocking the right lanes, but it looks like they got that out of the way. So hopefully that will start to thin out through there. The biggest jam is on the Illinois side. Oh, those poor drivers. And it's westbound 64. I almost said eastbound. Westbound jammed approaching 157. Eastbound slowing at 159. I'm Sue Thomas with Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Taking care of yourself should fit into your life, not complicated. Neoviten Original Formula is a complete daily multivitamin designed to support your everyday wellness routine with essential vitamins, minerals, and a natural ingredient blend, all in just 2 daily tablets. Subscribe online at neoviten.com for monthly delivery or shop Neoviten at your local Schnucks and Dearborn. Neoviten Original Formula is physician formulated to fit easily into your everyday routine. All of our vitamins are manufactured in a certified GMP facility in the USA. Neoviten, make nutrition easy.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then, we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
I've noticed over the last 15 years, no, let's just say 10 years, how astronomical the prices to heat and cooler homes are for the equipment. Because there was a time when you would call me and it was affordable. If you have a house and you want air conditioning and you just want it to cool your house and you want to heat your house, I have a system that I made a special buy on that will do just that and save you money. Common sense will tell you if you just replace your old, and I'm talking 15, 20, 25, 30, 35-year-old system with a new system, you're going to save big dollars. If you're interested in that, call me. One easy number, Missouri and Illinois. It's 314-293-2600. Again, it's Bart Inman, 314-293-2600. God bless.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon. Hey, Sue, I got some good news for you. Ready?
I'm ready.
The St. Charles City County Library has recently reviewed a request for reconsideration. Somebody was upset about the King James Version of the Bible being in their library. And
What?
the trustees actually, believe it or not, the trustees actually had to have a conversation about this. Can you believe they had to meet instead of just out of hand dismissing it, which is what they should have done, right? And they've decided to retain the Bible in the library's collection. Isn't that nice?
Well, that is nice. I can't believe they had to deal with that either. What was the contention?
Well, here's the thing. There was a guy from St. Peter's. He submitted the challenge. He claims it was not specifically for trying to get the Bible banned from library shelves, though he told the Post-Dispatch that the challenge was meant to protest the library's policy against displaying LGBTQ flags.
There it is.
There it is. Now, here's the thing when it comes to the flags. Why is anybody, why are you waving a flag? Why do we care about your sex life at a library? It's all about the books, right?
Yeah, I don't really get that. Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. And they act like if you don't, raise the flag in June, that apparently you're a bad person or you hate people. No one hates people, but how many flags we got to put up there? This flag, that flag, everyone's got a flag and a point of view, right?
No, I get it. Yeah, it's crazy.
And then trying to ban the Bible as a result. Saw a story today, speaking of prayer. There was this New Jersey, Mickey Sherrill, the governor of New Jersey, has now signed a bill that could potentially, they don't say praying specifically, but it could potentially make it illegal to pray outside of an abortion clinic. Because they could call that interference. Why are they so afraid of people praying? What's so scary about that? Could it be God? Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Which also ties in. Oh, we're running out of time, aren't we? Okay, we'll talk about this. We got more. We got more to come up with. We're up against the clock, aren't we? Okay, I'm Heidi Harrison from Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch out for emergency vehicles eastbound 6440 on the ramp to Chesterfield Airport Road. The left exit is closed in the left shoulder. Now, you can still get by. You just want to keep that in mind. In fact, we had a stall eastbound 364 at Maryland Heights Expressway, that one on the right-hand side. Now, the heaviest traffic we have is out west on 64 from Prospect through the 70 split, eastbound 40 between Lindbergh and Big Bend, and on the Illinois side, westbound 64 approaching 157, and that, of course, due to road work. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door, barronmirror.com. We'd like to congratulate Barron Mirror Glass and Door. It's their 50th anniversary, and you don't stay in business that long without an experienced staff and quality products, outstanding service. So contact Barron Mirror Glass and Door today and let them show you why 50 years is just a start. I'm Sue Thomas with Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
If you own a business, you've heard it all. From fast funding to easy approvals, everyone says the same thing. LendSeek is different. We show you what you actually qualify for. LendSeek's AI-enabled platform matches you with funding options with no guesswork. Up to $5 million in as fast as 24 hours. If you've been in business over a year, doing at least $50,000 per month, apply for free with zero out-of-pocket costs and access to over 100 lenders. Start ready, stay ready. LendSeek.com. LendSeek.com.
Hi, George Weber, Weber Chevrolet. For 124 years, the Weber Way has kept St. Louis moving for less. You can buy the same car at 100 places, but you won't get the same feeling. That's the Weber Way. 20 minutes from anywhere in St. Louis. Tired of paying too much? Now through Labor Day only, to sell a record number, we're going really big. Your upgrade may never be more affordable. Trade up and possibly lower your payments before time runs out. Come see the Weber Way at Weber Chevrolet. 3 locations or WeberChevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
Lose weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis guaranteed, or your money back, only $59.99. Hypnosis, Thursday, September 17th, Radisson Hotel, Fairview Heights. Weight loss 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking Hypnosis 8 p.m. Or Saturday, September 19th, Holiday Inn Creve Coeur. Weight loss 11 a.m. Stop smoking Hypnosis 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
License number GL2500615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Mark Cox here. Celebrate the month of August with Zero Res. They're offering you 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119. That's $106 in savings. You can book online at ZeroResSTL.com and take advantage of the savings.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The time is 5:32. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
250 years of capitalism, private ownership, and rugged individualism. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
I'm Heidi Harris. In for Mark Reardon, who's out at the golf course having a good old time. Dan Reardon's here. No relation, though. KMOX golf correspondent. Also out in the air-conditioned tent, eating the good food out at the BMW Championship at Belle Reve. I think. Aren't you in the tent there, having the air conditioning, or what's going on?
Well, I was shocked, Heidi, because this year they put the media inside the clubhouse. I was stunned when I saw that. And we are in luxurious conditions in terms of this golf championship.
Nice. Very nice. A lot of people out there. We were talking to Frank Cusumano earlier. Said there was something like 28,000 people out there today.
Yesterday we had 28.4. I think the number is going to go up today. They won't put out that number until tomorrow morning. But I know I talked to the director of Golf House here, Mike Tucker, and he was anticipating they could get as high as 35 today, and then tomorrow and Sunday are a complete sellout. So they're going to put up serious numbers in terms of galleries, and that's sort of why they came to St. Louis, because every time golf comes to St. Louis comes to golf.
Well, that's true. And St. Louis is such a great sports town in so many ways, and it's great to see them show up and it's great that it's a beautiful weekend too. What a great weekend for it.
And that was the bonus. We were concerned because they were playing in Memphis last week, and they had triple digits every day, and the players were just beaten down by the heat. And they thought they were coming to St. Louis and facing the same thing. And when they leave here, they go to Atlanta for the last golf event of the season, and they know it's going to be high temperatures. But when they got here and found out they had temperatures in the 80s, the mood of the players was obviously different. They didn't expect this to be one of the others. As it turns out, like I said, it's been perfect. It's 80 degrees, overnight lows in the 60s, really good. And by the way, we've had a change at the top of our leader just before we came on, because Wyndham Clark, who is the current U.S. Open championship, finished his round. He's at 12 under par, 64-64 for the first 2 days. And he has a one-stroke lead over Gary Woodland. And Woodland's an interesting story because he grew up in Kansas, and he considers this. He said this is the closest he will ever play golf in relationship to his home. And he's got a bunch of friends and family over here from Kansas. So it's been a sort of an interesting couple of days here at Belle Reve.
Well, you never know. How's Scotty Scheffler doing?
Scheffler healed his cases pretty well today. He shot 5 under par, 65. He's going to have to do the same thing for the next 2 days. But he started the day with 44 players ahead of him on the leaderboard. He now has 23 players ahead of him on the leaderboard. Now the problem is he can play extremely well, but he needs the guys ahead of him to not play so well in order to make up grounds. He said afterwards, he said, I shot 30 on the back nine, or he said, I need to shoot the same thing I shot on the back nine the 4 times over the weekend, which would mean he thinks he needs to go out and shoot 60-60, and I don't think he's going to do that.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, there's still 2 days to go. So, and now what's the main prizes? The grand prize is how much? I read there was $10 million. Am I wrong about that?
The total prize is $20 million.
Okay.
The winner this week gets 3.6.
Okay.
Next week it goes to 10. Next week for the FedEx Championship it goes to 10. and it's been, like I said, everything has worked well for the galleries, for the club. Everybody is pleased with what's going on, and that's not always the case in golf. We had bad weather. We had rain, two inches of rain at the beginning of the week, and the course rebounded very well. So this is going to be a win for St. Louis once again.
That is fantastic. Now, let me ask a dumb question here that people who play golf would know. If they get a lot of rain prior to and then it clears up for the tournament days, what is that going to make the course too soggy, or does it depend on the climate as far as how quickly the grass dries? I mean, is that good or bad for the golfers?
No, your golf sense is very good, and the players will freely admit that the golf course, particularly the greens, got soft. And so when they land the ball on the green, they know it's just going to pretty much stay where it lands. It may back up a little bit, but they don't worry about the firm greens and the ball bouncing hard and not being able to control it. So the rain has been probably a disappointment to the club because they would like the scores to be a little lower than they are, or higher, I guess, than they are. And but a bonus for the players because this course is not nearly as dangerous as it might have been had we had triple-digit temperatures.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I never thought about the fact that when it's dry, that's when the ball goes, right off the green into the rough or something else. Even when you land it initially, I never thought about that, whereas it's going to stick when it's raining. These are all things that people need to know, that obviously the greenskeepers are aware of and all the golfers are aware of, because every single week, every day, the situation that they're playing in changes, right?
Well, and Heidi, I've heard you talk in the past. I think you have a lot of familiarity with the Nevada golf, and the change there is you play at altitude, and then then the distances change. A club that you hit one distance at sea level becomes a totally different distance when you get to see at altitude. And so when they do the celebrity event at Lake Tahoe, that's an adjustment that those amateurs have to make.
And that's why they call it golf, because all the other four-letter words were taken, right? You've heard that before. I didn't make that up, obviously. Now, we're speaking with Dan Reardon, of course, not Mark Reardon, seen somewhere out there on the golf course. So who do you predict's going to win this? You think Wyndham Clark's going to win it? What are you thinking?
I get caught between who I think's going to win and who I want to win. And I can tell you who I want to win. Okay. I want Gary Woodland to win this championship because Gary Woodland in spring did a devastating interview. He had brain surgery. He didn't know if he was ever coming back to play golf. He's fought his way back onto the tour. He suffers from PTSD. There are times on the golf course where the caddy has to coax him to move forward and stay within what's going on. It's a gradual comeback. And he has won since that time. And when he won last year, or when he won coming back from it, it was a big thing in the world of golf. And this is a big, big event. And he's never made it to Atlanta to the Tour Championship. And actually, if you wanted to really pursue the story, there's a great story about Gary Woodland and a Down syndrome girl going back to the Phoenix Open. So who I think going to win, Clark is a tough enough guy to hold up over 4 days. But would I like to see Gary Woodland win? Absolutely.
I think a lot of people would, don't you? Frank Cusumano said the same thing.
Yeah. It's just such a good story, and I don't care what sport it is. You always want a good story, and that's not to say that J.J. Spawn, or even if you want drama, you would want Scotty Scheffler coming from 44th position in the field to win on Sunday. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, but it's always a good story, and people do like those side stories, and it's a great comeback story for him, for Gary Woodland. It'd be great to see it happen. Well, have a great time out there this weekend. It's going to be tons of fun, and the weather's going to be perfect, and potentially 40,000 people. You said tomorrow and Sunday each day.
Yeah, it could be as high as that total. Yes, Heidi. And thanks for the invitation.
That's great. Thank you for being here. Have a good time out there. That's fun. That's fun. That's good. It's good to see everybody out there, and it's good to see everybody. St. Louis is such an amazing sports town anyway. People are so excited to see these kinds of events come to town, and so happy to support them. Isn't it cool, Ethan? Are you going out there, right? Both days, or
I wish I was. I'm not gonna get to go out there, unfortunately.
What? Oh, that's right. I asked you that earlier, and you said you whined a little bit. No, I'm kidding.
I was on it. I just wasn't on getting a credential, and it's too expensive. It's very expensive to go. But
is it?
Well, yeah. Triple-digit tickets. It's. The demand is certainly high, but like you said, St. Louis is just such a great sports town, and they do well with these things. And I as much as it sucks for me, I love that the prices are high because it means the demand is there. Because they're going to break records this weekend for the BMW Championship, and we need these kinds of events here in St. Louis. We had March Madness here in March just a few months ago, and it did extremely well here. And it had been a long time since it had been here. There's a lot of different events like that you could point back to. The Frozen Four, the college hockey Final Four was here last year. These events constantly do well when they're here. We need them here. St. Louis needs to do a better job of drawing them here because every time that they do show up, the fans show up, and it's always a great atmosphere.
Yeah, and that's good, and it's great that the weather's good because that even though I don't care where you are, the weather can turn. Everybody knows that. Certain parts of the country more easily than others, but that's a great showing for them to see to come back, to encourage all the golf gods to want to come back. It's between the crowds and the weather and everything and the greens and everything, it's going to be a fun weekend.
And
that's for
sure. It's a beautiful course, and there's a lot of good courses in St. Louis and Missouri, but I think most would probably tell you that Belle Reve is the top spot here in St. Louis. So it's cool to see them back out there. The last time that they were here, Heidi, was in 2018, and that is when Tiger Woods had the start of his comeback before winning the Masters. It was just a couple of months later, a little more than that, that Tiger had he had begun his comeback. He finished second here in St. Louis. I forget what tournament that was, but there's this iconic shot of him walking over the hill towards 18, in right there in the mix with everyone, and the crowds are just following Tiger, and it was such a cool moment. It was cool for St. Louis to be connected with a historic golf moment there for a guy that was, back on the rise after having so many challenging years, not being able to stay healthy and whatnot. So that was a super cool moment several years ago. It's great to see St. Louis delivering awesome moments here for the game of golf once again.
Yeah, and everybody loves those kind of stories. And, we talked a little bit yesterday about the WNBA. I'm not that interested in the topic in general, but it's coming up. And, it's not a racial thing. Like you mentioned about Tiger Woods. I can't tell you how much golf I watched when Tiger Woods was playing, as opposed to before that, Tiger's not playing this week. Okay, who cares? It's not a racial thing. It's just some players are interesting and exciting to watch, and some players are not as exciting to watch, and that's just the truth. It's got nothing to do with the color of their skin.
No, the problem is when you start making it about that, because you're forgetting that people are just human beings. I think personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging it, but when you make that the headlining thing, I think you are drifting away from the point of what is happening. Tiger Woods wasn't great because he's black. He's great because he was a great golfer, one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
In the same way, Caitlin Clark isn't amazing because she's white. She's amazing because she's doing something that no one has ever done for the WNBA before. So
Right.
I think it's important just to focus in on what makes these athletes special is their abilities, first and foremost.
Well, yeah, their abilities and personalities. I'm old enough
Yeah.
to remember when people like, John McEnroe, Martina Navratilova, Chris Evert, they were fun to watch. They were characters. They were personalities. The tennis that was played back then, it just seems so different than today. There was no vanilla. Everyone was yelling at the people sitting up in the chairs, the judges, and it was just there were a lot of characters, which made it interesting to watch. And there have been times since where in tennis you go, oh, you're good, but does anyone really care? And that happens. That's there are a few people who will come in and make it very exciting, and then other people who are equally talented, but they just don't draw the eyeballs, and that's what happens a lot of times.
You said it.
So, anyway, it'll be a lot of fun for the weekend. I'm glad a lot of folks are getting to go. Not you, but everyone else is going to be out there, so that's good. I'm Heidi Harris in for Mark Reardon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Eastbound 6440, some slow-moving traffic east of Lindbergh through Big Bend. Westbound is slow, but it's all the way out at Prospect before it's slowing down. Now, 70 westbound is fine. Eastbound, though, slowing at 141, and again, just east of 170. There's an incident reported there. Then westbound 70, well, and eastbound, just some moderate volume at Wentzville. 55 looks good. We've got some volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge. And we've got westbound 64 jammed approaching 157, of course, due to the closure. And 5570 westbound, kind of slowing there on either side of 255. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Self-nominated Nobel Prize candidate Greg Gutfeld is coming to St. Louis Sunday, October 18th. Tickets are on sale now to see the new King of Late Night in St. Charles at the Family Arena. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
If you haven't had your roof checked in the last 5 years, it's time for roof maintenance. Mark Cox here for my friends at Corel Roofing Company. Listen, Curtis is going to come out, or a member of his crew, and get up on your roof for free to see what's going on. If you've got damage, I can't think of anyone better to work with your insurance adjuster to get that coverage. Recently, Curtis went to bat for one of his customers and got her coverage from 2024 storm damage with 2024 deductibles. He works hard at this and he prides himself, and he took his whole crew to Kansas City recently for additional training working with adjusters to make sure you get what you deserve. Corel Roofing has crews with over 20 years of experience, and it doesn't matter what kind of shingles you need, they've got you covered. 314-222-9529. That's 314-222-9529. Tell them Mark sent you. Go to CorelRoofingCo.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Heidi Harrison for Mark Reardon. Here's our cut of the day.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
I tried to write a column through the eyes of two student athletes who were kind of speaking out against biological males in girls/women's sports. They said, we're looking at it. Let me give it to this editor. This editor is going to have a talk with the top two editors. And 6 days later, they decided it wasn't going to run. And I had a feeling it wasn't going to run based on past experiences with columns getting spiked. And I just decided to resign on the spot. It sounds like an emotional decision. It sounds like a rage quit kind of thing. It wasn't something I was totally ready to do. It's just because I felt, I couldn't do my job as a columnist because I feel like they were, stifling my voice.
No question. That's Matt Calkins, who was working for the Seattle Times for 11 years. He worked there, and he left after they refused to run a column where he was basically highlighting a couple of young girls who, one of them was 16 years old. He referenced her, Annalie Wilson. She lost to a biological male in a track and field race in 8th grade. And she happened to be at a game watching Sophie and holding up a sign saying, "Thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls." And there was another student athlete named Frances Stott who said she's endured daily verbal abuse after refusing to play against a biological boy in a basketball game. So he writes this column featuring these girls who have a point of view Whether you agree with their point of view or not, I happen to agree with them. I don't want them hurt by biological boys. And what kind of a wussy guy is too wussy to play with the boys and you got to play with the girls? Can you imagine that? When we were growing up, kids playing sports together, there were some things we did together when we were real little. But when we start getting older, the boys are playing with the boys and the girls are playing with the girls. And a boy who came over to play with the girls would be laughed at by the other boys. But now we've got boys who want to come play with the girls. I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. But I don't blame this guy for resigning because it wasn't the only column that they had spiked. And let's be honest, you're a columnist. You have to put out a certain amount of columns, maybe every Sunday, Wednesday. It's not easy. There are days anyone who's ever written anything, there are days you go, nothing really interests me. I don't know what to write about. I can't think of anything. It's not an easy job. So this guy takes the time to research, do the interviews, blah, 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 all these different columns that he's written, and they won't print them because they don't like the point of view. Meanwhile, I see things, I don't know about y'all, but every single day when I look at the newspaper, and I like an old school physical newspaper, read the newspaper, read all kinds of things every day on the internet that I don't agree with. Sometimes I read them. Sometimes I skip past the headlines because I don't really care. Other times I read it because the point of view is something that interests me, even if I don't agree. And most people do. You can just look at it and choose not to look at it. But the Seattle Times spiked it. He wasn't allowed to even put this stuff out because it was an alternate point of view. It reminds me of the COVID things that people were putting out. Remember all the COVID censorship? I mean, I got my entire YouTube channel shut down because I put a video up just stating my reasons for not taking COVID shots. Just mine, not giving anyone else medical advice. I'm not qualified to do that, but I just stated my reasons for that. They completely shut my channel down. And a lot of people dealt with a lot of that kind of thing. So now he's writing on a Substack. God bless him. But you know what? It takes guts to walk away from a situation like that. He just decided he wasn't going to do this. And he has nothing bad to say about the Seattle Times. He didn't trash anybody. He talked about how talented a lot of people were and everything. But he said the best things in life are free, speech being at the top of the list. He's going to keep writing in this Substack space. He said maybe that'll spawn a new career, or maybe I'll be a dental assistant in 2 years. Right. And maybe he'll just do it. You know, some people do things for free, podcasts or, you know, obviously columns, things like that. They don't necessarily make a lot of money out of it, but they have the outlet. And God bless America that we still have those. But it's shameful and despicable that a newspaper, and he wasn't gossiping. He was sharing the stories of two young ladies who don't want to be beat up by a guy they're competing with. I mean, hello, this is obvious. No, you can't even put their point. No, we're not gonna print that. Oh, really? Okay. And I had a friend who worked in news in my town, which is Vegas, and there were all kinds of stuff that she dealt with during the COVID. She doesn't do that anymore, but during COVID, when somebody would have a story that was contrary to the company line, she'd say, well, what about this? They'd say, oh, no. What about that? Oh, no. There was no other point of view allowed at all. And the thing is, the genie's out of the bottle. People have brains and they have computers and cell phones now. And so it's real tough to completely put everything in a bottle and stop everyone from seeing other points of view. You can't really do it. But they're trying, boy. They still try. Shut everybody down. And so you think we have free speech in this country? We do in some arenas, but in a lot, it's still, unfortunately, not as free as it should be. I'm Heidi Harris. It's been great sitting in for Mark. He will return on Monday. Hope you all have a good time. If you go out to the golf tournament or something else, enjoy the beautiful weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got eastbound 70 lined up as you head toward Bermuda. And there might be an incident there. It just hasn't been reported yet, but I see the backup. And if you're headed into downtown, eastbound 64 is slow. It's east of Lindbergh through Big Bend, and then it just opens up and looks fine. There's some volume, but not much. Westbound 64 out at the 70 split. Still a jam on the Illinois side, 64 westbound, especially at 157. That, of course, due to the closure of westbound 64 between 255 and 18th Street. That is supposed to be reopened by Monday at 5 a.m. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
For men over 50, staying healthy shouldn't feel complicated. Neovitin Men's 50 Plus is a doctor-formulated daily multivitamin